Chapter 1088. Chapter 1086, Xie Yufeng's gloominess. Xie Yufeng had been quite troubled these past few days. He hadn't even gotten to know Lin Yi's background yet, and he was already at a disadvantage. Not only did he get beaten up for no reason, but his butt was also messed up. And so, he didn't report this to his father. It was embarrassing enough already, and he didn't want to report it. He didn't think that his father would call before Xie Yufeng even reported it. Yufeng hesitated for a bit before picking it up. "Hello? Father?" Yufeng said. "Yufeng, how are you? You've been in Songshan for so many days, are you used to it?" Shuixing asked with a smile. His son was his pride, the pride of House Yu. House Yu's future depended on him. "It's all right." Yufeng was visibly stunned as he said this. He didn't have the face to talk to his father. This was too embarrassing. He was the young master of House Yu, and he had come to Songshan full of ambition, ready to make a name for himself, but he didn't expect to be so unlucky. He didn't even get to do anything with Lin Yi before getting beaten up by someone he didn't know. If he really were beaten up by Lin Yi, then Yufeng wouldn't say anything. He'd just have to take a little loss in order to investigate Lin Yi's background. But the problem was that Lin Yi didn't make a move. "How is it? Have you figured out Lin Yi's background?" Shuixing didn't hear the disappointment in his son's voice, still smiling as he asked. "Not yet. There aren't any openings. I can't make a move," Yufeng said, troubled. "I feel like I don't know where to start." "It's fine. Just stay in Songshan for now. I have other things to do anyway." Shuixing wasn't in a rush. "Other things?" Yufeng paused. "Is there anything else?" Of course. Yufeng, you're not young anymore. I've arranged a marriage for you," Shuixing said with a smile. "Marriage?" Yufeng paused. He didn't object to the family's decision. He grew up in a noble house, and he knew that his marriage was just a bargaining chip. It would be decided by his father. Of course, Xie Yufeng didn't care. He was a man. Even if he married a wife he didn't like and wasn't pretty, he could still keep a mistress. This wasn't a secret among the young masters of the noble houses, so the most tragic part of marriage was the woman. Not to mention marrying a man she didn't like, it was possible for her to be alone in an empty house, and it was impossible for her to have an affair. Things were just so unfair. When a man cheated, it was called being romantic and elegant. When a woman cheated, it was called not being virtuous. So Yufeng didn't care about the marriage at all. "What does this have to do with me being in Songshan?" "Yes, the girl I've arranged for you is House Song's granddaughter, Lingshan. She's already at Golden Class late phase peak." Shuixing smiled. "This kid's not bad. He's quite talented, reaching Golden Class late phase peak at such a young age. I have high hopes for him." "Lingshan?" Yufeng reacted when he heard the name. "Song Lingshan from House Song. I think I've met her once." "She's not bad? How is it just okay?" Yufeng was overjoyed when he heard that the girl was Lingshan. Lingshan wasn't just pretty, she had a great body, and her breasts were huge. Yufeng wanted to laugh up his sleeve. With a beauty like this as his wife, he'd be in for it. Yufeng originally didn't have much interest in the girl he was going to marry. After all, House Yu cared about the whole benefit. If they got an ugly girl, he'd have no choice but to accept it. As long as they kept the marriage going, he'd look at this girl once in a while, and the rest of the time, he'd go play. But his father's words ignited the fire of desire in Yufeng's heart. He was just too lucky. I think it's not a bad idea. She's working in Songshan's police station right now, so I think you should stay in Songshan and interact with her for a bit. After a while, when Lin Yi's matter is over, you can come with me to visit House Song and ask for her hand in marriage," Shuixing said. "All right, no problem." Yufeng quickly agreed. To him, this was an unexpected surprise. He was just worrying about how boring life was in Songshan, and now he had something to do. Hitting on girls had always been Yufeng's favorite. It'd be best if you can have some sort of relationship with her in advance and solidify your relationship. Otherwise, the granddaughter of House Song is very outstanding, and I'm afraid that she'll be targeted," Shuixing reminded. "I heard that House Chen's Chen Yutian has been chasing after Lingshan for a couple of years now." House Song's Kung Fu is a top-level practitioner's practitioner. It'll be good for you too. I know, don't worry Dad, I'll take care of this. Yu Feng was afraid that his father would want him to treat Lingshan politely before the marriage, but now his father was telling him to find a chance to sleep with Lingshan. And, right, how's your Kung Fu? Have you made any progress? You've been stuck at Mystic Early Phase Peak for a while now, right? Are there any signs of a breakthrough? Xuexing asked. Not yet. Yu Feng had been so depressed these past 2 days, he didn't have the mood to train at all. I've already told everyone that you're a mystic mid-phase, don't let that slip in front of Lingshan. Xuexing warned. Oh, why did you say I'm mystic mid-phase? Yu Feng paused. House Song's old madam, Lingshan's grandmother, is a mystic mid-phase, so I purposely told everyone that you're mystic mid-phase, so that you can have a bigger say in House Song. Xuexing said. Yu Feng paused, understanding his father's intentions immediately. He couldn't help but sigh. The older the ginger, the spicier it was. His father was truly cunning. In the noble houses, strength was the deciding factor, and the higher the strength, the more power one had. In House Song, if Yu Feng had the same strength as old Madam Song, then he'd be on the same level as old Madam Song. Yu Feng's position in House Song would skyrocket. But won't that give me away? Yu Feng asked, a little hesitant. No, they won't check your strength. If you don't circulate your qi, how would they know? Xuexing said nonchalantly. Plus, there's still some time before you get married, you might have broken through by then. Chapter 1089. Together on a trip, this phone call made Yu Feng quite happy. His father had given him another rather pleasant mission. Yu Feng's gloomy mood was swept away. As for Lin Yi's investigation, his father didn't set a time limit, and he didn't mention much about it this time either. The main thing was for him to do with Lingshan. Yu Feng really liked this mission. Old Song Xiangwen, on the other hand, wanted to give his granddaughter a surprise, so he didn't tell her about the marriage. As far as Xiangwen was concerned, she'd be very happy after hearing this news. After all, Lingshan's wish was for a man stronger than her, and this man, as far as Xiangwen was concerned, had to be someone from House Yu. Other noble houses' heirs wouldn't be this strong. Lin Yi didn't know that Lingshan's happy call would attract so much trouble. When Lin Yi walked out of Lingshan's apartment, it was already very late. The night breeze cleared his mind quite a bit. Lingshan's temptation almost made Lin Yi lose control. Ever since he blended into this relaxed life, Lin Yi realized that his heart had changed. He was no longer as cold and emotionless as before, and he no longer had a heart of stone. The him now was much more easily moved. Life seemed to have become more interesting, but Lin Yi really didn't know if this was a good thing or a bad thing. After getting in the car, Lin Yi drove home, but on the way there, he was thinking about a very important problem. As of now, Lin Yi's biggest weakness was that he didn't have enough helpers. One could say that out of all the practitioners Lin Yi had, the strongest was himself. Although Lin Yi really wanted to bring Faubert, Wei Wu, and Lingshan to higher levels, he couldn't do anything. The energy in the jade space was endless, but if he used his body as a medium to transfer it, there would be a bottleneck. This bottleneck came from one's own strength. He was a mystic, and he could only bring others up to golden class late phase peak, not one bit more. So, if he wanted to make others stronger, then Lin Yi had to become stronger first. Only when Lin Yi broke through to Earth class could he bring the people around him to mystic. But this made Lin Yi feel like it was useless. He was already an Earth class master, and having a mystic class master as a helper wouldn't be as effective. If he could let others directly absorb the energy in the jade space, then that would be great. But even if they could, Lin Yi didn't want others to know his secret. This secret was his trump card, and those who could share it with him had to be the ones closest to him. If Tang Yun was also a practitioner, then Lin Yi wouldn't hesitate to share this secret with her. Lin Yi was very clear about Tang Yun's feelings for him. She was a girl who would never leave him, and even wanted to drop out of school to accompany him back to his hometown to farm. But other people, Lin Yi didn't have enough trust. Of course, even if he trusted them, Lin Yi couldn't let them directly absorb the energy in the jade space. If he could release and transfer the energy out of the jade space, then it would be easy, but Lin Yi was just thinking about it. When he got back to the villa, Lin Yi saw Meng Yao and Yushu sitting in front of the coffee table, flipping through a bunch of posters. For the first time, they weren't watching TV. Seeing that Lin Yi was back, the miss only nodded. She didn't show any joy or dissatisfaction. Lin Yi was already used to this. The miss had this kind of cold personality. On the other hand, Yushu called out impatiently, "Shield bro, what took you so long? Come and help me and Yao Yao sis, where are we going to play?" "Where are we going to play?" Lin Yi was slightly surprised. He walked to the sofa beside Yushu and sat down. He asked curiously, "Play what?" "There's a long holiday for May Day. Yao Yao sis and I are planning to go out and play. Shield bro, where do you think we should go?" Yushu explained as she pointed at the posters on the coffee table. "Yao Yao sis and I are a little dizzy, can you help us take a look?" May Day holiday? Lin Yi suddenly remembered that May Day was International Labor Day. It was a legal holiday. It turned out that he had become a normal person. The Lin Yi of the past didn't have holidays. When there was a mission, no matter when, Lin Yi had to throw himself into work. When there was no mission, it was a holiday. So Lin Yi was very indifferent to the concept of holidays. It wasn't until Yushu said this that he realized that he was a student now. Naturally, he had to have a holiday. Yeah. Yushu nodded and passed a bunch of posters to Lin. "Where do you guys want to go?" Lin Yi didn't look at the posters. He put them aside and said, "The advertisements on them are a little exaggerated. It doesn't matter whether I look at them or not. But on May Day, my medicine company is opening. I can't leave. You two go? Then we'll go on May 2nd. It's a couple of days off anyway." Yushu said casually, "Right, Yao Yao sis?" "Yeah." "Lin Yi, I meant to invite Tang Yun and Xiaoxiao. Let's go together." Meng Yao nodded and looked at Lin. The miss word surprised Lin. He didn't expect her to invite Tang Yun and Xiaoxiao. But then again, the miss had always been a reasonable person. Lin Yi wasn't surprised that she made this decision. It was just that she said it herself and not through Yushu. That was why Lin Yi felt weird. "Sure, but I saw Xiaoxiao's phone. She wants to go to the beach to watch the sunrise. Why don't we go on a tour there?" "We won't go with the tour group." Lin Yi remembered Xiaoxiao's wish to watch the sunrise and eat poached eggs. But thinking about it made Lin Yi feel confused and amused. Lin Yi didn't get it. What was the connection between watching the sunrise and eating poached eggs? How did Xiaoxiao connect these two things together? "Sure." Meng Yao didn't object. "You arrange it then." "Oh, that's great. I can go catch sharks again." Yushu clapped her hands. She was very supportive of going to the beach. Chapter 1090. Chapter 1088, House Chumingyao, on the other hand, picked up the posters. Looking at Lin Yi's back, Meng Yao had an indescribable feeling in her heart. Lin Yi was spending less and less time in the villa, especially during the weekends. Lin Yi used to be at home with her and Shu, but now he was leaving early and coming back late. Meng Yao knew that she couldn't interfere with Lin Yi's actions, but she still felt a little disappointed. "Yao Yao, what's wrong? You look disappointed?" Yushu said with a smile as she looked at the unhappy Meng Yao. "Is it because Shield Bro hasn't been in the villa all day?" "Don't say that, I'm not disappointed. Lin Yi has things to do, and Xiaoxiao's days are numbered. I'm not someone who doesn't see the big picture. Even if he doesn't do his job as a follower, it's fine." Meng Yao said faintly. "Actually, Yao Yao, you can pretend to be sick too," Yushu suggested. "That way, Shield Bro can stay with you." "What nonsense are you talking about? Pretend if you want to." Meng Yao glared at her and turned on the TV. Yushu's idea was too unreliable. Who was Lin Yi? He was a medical expert after all. If Lin Yi found out that she was pretending, wouldn't she become a laughingstock? Meng Yao wouldn't do something that stupid. In a dark room in the dark palace, the palace master sat on the bed, spacing out. Who knew what she was thinking? It's been so many days. How were they doing? Did they resolve the conflict with House Yu, Xiao family, and the hidden House Xiao? She was worried, but there was nothing she could do. She was locked up by the Grand Elder, and there were two elders who were no weaker than her guarding the room. She couldn't escape at all. Sometimes one wanted to die, but she knew that she couldn't. If she died, who would avenge her husband and daughter? Since things had come to this, she could only practice harder and break through to the heaven stage as soon as possible so that she could leave the mountain and take revenge for her husband and daughter. The sound of footsteps came from outside the door. Wang froze. It wasn't time to eat. Logically speaking, the elder who was guarding her outside would not enter her room. Now that there were footsteps outside, there was no doubt that someone was coming. As expected, not long after, the room door was pushed open and the ones who entered were the Grand Elder and Elderly. Grand Elder, Elderly. Wang hated the Grand Elder for putting her under house arrest, but she didn't show any disrespect in front of her. After all, she knew that while the Grand Elder was stubborn and heartless, everything she did was for the good of the Dark Palace. She never got married in her life because she gave all her energy to the Palace of Darkness. Even in her dreams, she wanted the Palace of Darkness to become the #1 palace in the martial world. "What the? You can leave now." The Great Elder announced her decision. Wang heard the Great Elder's words and froze. She didn't think that the Great Elder would let her go. She couldn't help but look at Elderly in surprise. Was it because of his hard work? Elderly saw that Wang was looking at him and couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Congratulations, Palace Master, the son-in-law and the young miss." "Ahem." The Grand Elder interrupted before Elderly could finish. "What son-in-law? Where's the son-in-law from?" Elderly heard the Grand Elder's words and felt a little awkward. He quickly changed his words. "It's Mr. Chu Pengzhan and Miss Chu Mengyao. They're fine now, they're safe." Wang cried out in surprise. She couldn't help but be overjoyed. The worries she had for days were all gone. They were finally safe and sound. Wang couldn't contain her joy. "Elderly, did you do it?" "No, I was wrong this time. Lin Yi wasn't injured. The common house Yu's brother, Yu Bide, was killed by Lin Yi, and the Xiao family's guardian, Uncle Pai, was turned into a vegetable by Lin. House Chu's crisis is solved," Elderly said. "That's great." The palace master let out a breath of relief. "This Lin Yi isn't simple. I didn't think that he would be able to solve this crisis. Wasn't he injured? Maybe he was faking it to make his opponents jump out." Elderly didn't know the crux of the matter. After all, even the people involved, House Yu and the Xiao family, didn't know the details. Naturally, Elderly didn't know the crux of the matter. Just a few mystic class clowns. They're nothing." The Grand Elder didn't think much of Lin. She only frowned and said disapprovingly, "What? You can leave now." With that, the Grand Elder turned and left. In fact, she was a bit depressed. Why didn't the bastard and the adulterer die? After he died, Wang would have nothing to worry about, and she could break through to sky class without emotions. To a cultivator, it was never a good thing to be shackled by emotions. She was a heartless person. She had never been in love, and she didn't know how lovers felt. To her, feelings were all lies. Only strength mattered. After the Grand Elder left, Elderly let out a sigh of relief. "Miss, the Grand Elder has always been like this. Don't hold a grudge against her." "I know. Why would I hold a grudge? Her thoughts are different from mine, but her intentions are good. She did it for the Palace of Darkness." Elderly nodded and lowered his voice. "Miss, although this time, the young miss and the young master made it through safely, but because of this, they've become enemies with House Yu and Xiao family. The hidden House Yu behind House Yu, I wonder if they'll come out and help them? As for the Xiao family's Uncle Pai, his background is not to be underestimated. His family is also a hidden house, and they have the support of the Sky Elixir sect. The Sky Elixir sect and the Palace of Darkness have always been at odds. I'm afraid this time." Wang thought that everything was over, but she didn't expect that it was just the beginning. House Yu had the hidden House Yu behind them. Among all the hidden houses, the hidden House Yu was the strongest, and was no weaker than an ancient sect. Chapter 1091. Chapter 1089. Deep as the sea. Chapter 1089. Deep as the sea. Once inside the palace gate, it is as deep as the sea. Didn't that mean that Pengzhan and Mengyao were still in danger? How should they deal with this? Thinking about this, Wang couldn't help but show a trace of anxiety on her face. She had regained her freedom, but there was nothing she could do. She couldn't just leave the mountain and stay with Pengzhan and Meng Yao, could she? Plus, she might have regained her freedom, but whether or not she could leave the mountain was still unknown. She believed that the Grand Elder had already ordered her not to leave the mountain. "Miss, we can't do anything about this right now. Fortunately, the hidden house you hasn't made any moves yet, and Uncle Pai's hidden house doesn't seem to know about this either." Elderly sighed. "Right now, we can only wait and see. But the biggest threat to House Chu right now isn't House Yu and Uncle Pai's hidden house, but something else." "Uncle Li, why are there other troubles?" The palace master asked worriedly. "From what I know, Ma Zhu's Shifu, Jin Wudi, has already submitted an application to the Hidden House Council, preparing to come out and cause trouble for Lin Yi, to avenge his disciple. When that happens, it's hard to say whether or not House Chu will be affected." Elderly sighed, his face serious as he nodded. "What should we do? How strong is Ma Zhu's Shifu?" War asked. "According to my investigation, he's an Earth class, early phase Earth class." Elderly said, "Plus, once his application is approved by the council, that Lin Yi won't be his match. Elderly, begs you, could you inform Yao Yao's bodyguard, Lin Yi, about this as soon as possible? So that he can prepare for this?" Knew that Elderly couldn't do anything, and she couldn't leave the mountain. She could only send the message through the Dark Shadow group, and while they were skilled in Qinggong, they weren't very strong. They couldn't be of much help at all, and the only thing they could do was send the message. "Don't worry, Mississippi. This old servant can still do it. In the Dark Shadow group, this old servant still has direct subordinates. This old servant will pass this news to Lin Yi as soon as possible." Elderly nodded and said, "That's the only way." "Sorry to trouble you, Uncle Li," said helplessly. A trace of deep worry and sorrow flashed across her pretty face. As the saying goes, once you enter the palace gate, you will find yourself in the 4 seas. Although this palace was different from the other palace, there was no difference in principle. An off-road vehicle was driving on a mountain road with difficulty. Pin Liang was the driver, and Xiaofu was in the passenger seat. "Brother Liang, we're going to see Pao soon. I'm so excited," Gao Xiaofu said as he looked out of the window. "Don't talk nonsense later. There are martial arts masters here, and we're nothing in their eyes. Don't cause trouble," Pin Liang warned Xiaofu calmly. "Don't worry, Liang bro, I know what I'm doing." Xiaofu nodded. He felt that Pin Liang had become a lot more introverted recently. He wasn't as arrogant as before, and was becoming more and more like Lin Yi's calmness. Pin Liang nodded and didn't say anything else. He continued driving. Half an hour later, the car stopped in front of a checkpoint. It wasn't a regular checkpoint, but one set up by the sect on the mountain. This place wasn't a tourist spot, nor was it a main road. People who weren't sent here wouldn't pass through here. "What are you here for?" A young man in black walked over and knocked on Pin Liang's window. Pin Liang quickly opened the window and said respectfully, "Hello, we're here to visit Zhang Naipeo." "Zhang Naipeo? Your brother Naipeo's friends?" The young man became respectful the moment he heard Naipeo's name, and his attitude towards Pin Liang became much friendlier as well. "Yes, we're Naipeo's brothers. We're here to visit Brother Naipeo." Pin Liang nodded, a little shocked inside. It seemed like Naipeo was doing quite well here. Pin Liang had learned how to read people's body language now, and he knew that this young man was very respectful towards Naipeo. That was why he was being respectful towards Pin Liang as well. Pin Liang knew the rules here very well. The only way to gain respect was with your own strength. This person called Naipeo brother, but treated him with such respect. The only explanation was that Naipeo was very strong. He was already stronger than many of his brothers. At the thought, Pin Liang couldn't help but feel excited. It seemed like he was right about Naipeo. He didn't think that Naipeo was a practitioner as well. Pin Liang couldn't wait to find out just how high Naipeo's training had reached. "Brother Zhang, stand guard here for a bit. I'll bring them up the mountain, they're Brother Naipeo's friends," the young man said to another man not far away. The other man's face turned serious upon hearing Naipeo's name. He nodded, "All right, leave it to me." The road above was closed, and Pin Liang and Xiaofu got off the car and followed the young man up the mountain. After a while, Pinliang and Xiaofu's stamina was visibly drained, but the young man was running like he wasn't bothered by the rugged path at all. In fact, as the lowest-ranked patrolling disciple, he had to run up and down the mountain a couple of times a day. This was something he was used to. "Bro, your stamina is pretty good, but we can't," Pinliang said, panting. "I'm just the lowest-ranked disciple, but Brother Nai Peo, he's much stronger than me," the young man said enviously. Pinliang was even more surprised after hearing the man's words. He didn't know what Nai Peo was capable of, but it seemed like he was doing quite well here. This guy had already praised him a couple of times. If it wasn't for the fact that he was really powerful, it was fine to compliment him once, but he wouldn't have complimented him so many times. "Is Nai Peo very strong now?" Xiaofu couldn't help but ask. Chapter 1092. Up the mountain, the more the young man said, the more shocked Pinliang and Xiaofu were. It seemed like Nai Peo had paid a huge price for his training. The mountain path was a little rough at the beginning, but it was a smooth path after that. The closer they got to the gate, the easier it was. This place must have been specially built. "We're here." The young man pointed at the mountain gate not too far away. "You may be Junior Nai Peo's friends, but according to the sect's rules, outsiders have to report first before they can enter. Come with me to register." "Alright." Pinliang, naturally, didn't dare act rashly. This was a powerful existence, after all, and he didn't dare show any disrespect. Pinliang and Nai Peo followed the young man to register their identities and undergo a strength check. After confirming that there was nothing suspicious, the young man led the two into the gate. In actuality, with the strength of the sect, they weren't afraid of people coming to attack them at all. Who'd have the guts to attack an ancient sect? It was one of the evilest sects in the ancient sects, too, the everyday and everyday sect. This was an existence even stronger than the hidden houses. Even the other righteous sects had to respect them, let alone someone who dared come here to attack them. But rules were rules, and this was a tradition that had been passed down for many years. Pinliang saw a lot of disciples practicing martial arts as soon as he entered the mountain gate. It was a sight that made him envious. "These are the most normal outer disciples, not even as strong as me. They're just beginners," the young man explained faintly, as if reading Pinliang's mind. "These people aren't talented enough, and they can only practice some basic physical skills. They don't want to suffer, so their achievements are limited." "Oh," Pinliang nodded. "Then Nai Peo is an inner disciple, and he was personally taken in as a disciple by Master Kuangyo, Mr. Ihan." The young man was even more envious now. "Master Kuangyo?" Pinliang blinked. "He's the chief enforcer of our everyday sect, a super strong man," the young man said respectfully. "He once killed a sky class from a righteous sect with a single punch." Pinliang sucked in a breath of cold air. From his point of view, mystic-ranked masters were already super invincible. How could there be someone here who could kill a Heaven Realm master? Wouldn't that make him invincible? Pinliang couldn't help but get excited at the thought. This meant that Nai Pao had gotten Master Kuangyo's favor, and as long as he learned 10% of Master Kuangyo's strength, killing Lin Yi would be a piece of cake. That's right. That's the chief protector of our sect. How could it be a joke?" the young man said proudly. Of course, he was bragging a little, and Zhong Pinliang didn't know about it. Pinliang was shocked, but he kept a straight face. Xiaofu, on the other hand, was grinning from ear to ear. He didn't expect Nai Peo's sect to be this strong. Back when Heibao Bro was beaten to a pulp by Lin Yi, Xiaofu was traumatized. He thought that Heibao Bro was just SOSO, but he didn't expect his sect to be this strong. It was just that Heibao Bro wasn't strong enough. Pinliang, on the other hand, was thinking about something else. He was thinking that Heibao Bro could use a practitioner's arts to forcefully raise his strength from a normal person to golden class early phase. This was a little too much. How could a sect with a technique like this be a normal sect? Although it required the sacrifice of one's life, other sects might not be able to do it. And so Pinliang had high hopes for Nai Peo. Of course, Pinliang didn't explain this to Xiaofu. After walking for a while, the three came to a very beautiful place. There were flowers everywhere, but no one was there. The scenery was beautiful, but Pinliang couldn't help but shiver. There was an evil presence here, and it made him very uncomfortable. Gao Xiaofu was the same. He felt like he was trembling. This is the place. The young man came here, his face pale as well. He wasn't having a good time either. Nai Peo junior brother is practicing in front, but the evil energy here is too thick. I can't handle it with my strength, so I can only bring you here. It's so cold and evil here. Even you can't go in, how can we? Pinliang said carefully. Bro, maybe you can call for Nai Peo? Tell him to stop practicing and stop for a bit? No, interrupting Nai Peo junior brother's practicing is a huge offense, I wouldn't dare. The young man shook his head. Call him yourself if you want to, I can't take the blame if Nai Peo junior brother blames me. That's fine. Pinliang nodded. But you have to tell me first, where is Nai Peo junior brother? Over there. The young man pointed not far away. That's Nai Peo junior brother. Huh. Pinliang paused and looked in the direction the young man was pointing. What he saw surprised him. What entered his eyes was a lump of black stuff. On the beautiful grass was a black object. If one didn't look closely, they'd think it was a reef, but this was the place the young man was talking about. Bro, you're talking about Nai Peo? Pinliang was confused. Big bro, you mean Nai Peo? Yes. The young man nodded. Oh. Pinliang didn't know what to say, but he still called out to the black rock. Zhang Nai Peo. Nai Peo was practicing when he heard someone call him. He frowned, a little pissed off. After all, no one was allowed to disturb him when he was practicing. Even Kuangyo Grand Master's people had to wait until he was done before calling him. But this voice. It was very familiar. Nai Peo opened his eyes abruptly as he remembered the owner of the voice. He stood up abruptly and waved his hand, dispersing the black object on his body. It turned out that the black layer on Nai Peo's body was actually a swarm of black wasps. Chapter 1093. Chapter 1091, You've been tricked, Liang bro. Nai Peo stood up and ran towards the owner of the voice. It was obvious that he was extremely excited right now. Nai Peo. Pinliang didn't think that Nai Peo would have a layer of wasps on himself. It made his heart palpitate and excited at the same time. It seemed like Nai Peo's kung fu was quite extraordinary. Seeing that Nai Peo's disciple knew who he was, the young man stepped back and said his goodbyes. He called Nai Peo disciple in the sect, but Nai Peo's position and strength had far surpassed his. Other than the fact that they were disciples, the two were completely different. Liang bro, I didn't think that you'd come to see me. Nai Peo, on the other hand, was very excited. He thought that he wouldn't be able to see Pinliang again after going up the mountain, other than when he went down. But Pinliang actually took the time to come see him. This was very touching. You're my brother, and you're training hard for me. Naturally, I have to come see you often. Pinliang said solemnly. He'd learned how to win people's hearts a long time. He knew that Nai Peo would be of great use to him in the future. Naturally, he was very close to him. Liang bro, don't say that. You're my boss and you always will be. If it weren't for you, my family would have died a long time ago. My life is yours. If you tell me to go east, I'll never go west. Nai Peo said solemnly. Good. Very good. Pow, I was right about you. Pinliang said excitedly as he patted Nai Peo's shoulder. Right, Pow, what kind of kung fu are you training? Why is it so scary? There's so much evil energy around here. I'm training in the wasp absorption arts. Nai Peo didn't hide anything, telling Pinliang what he was training in. Wasp absorption arts? Pinliang blinked. Does that have anything to do with absorbing stars? Nope, wasp absorption arts is a skill that absorbs bee venom. I'm using bee venom to increase my strength. Nai Peo explained, there's too little qi in the world right now, and it'd be hard to improve with normal training. Our day after day sect is a demonic sect, and we rely on absorbing evil poisons to quickly increase our strength. It's similar to absorbing true qi, but our cultivation process is much more arduous and difficult. I see. Pinliang nodded. No wonder that Master Kuangyo was so strong, able to kill a sky-class master. There was a reason behind it. The martial arts they cultivated were all evil, different from the orthodox sects. Since you're from the devil sect, have there been any righteous sects that have come to cause trouble for you? Pin Liang asked subconsciously. He didn't need to hide his thoughts in front of Nai Peo. He could tell that Nai Peo really thought of him as his boss, so Pin Liang didn't need to hide anything. Righteous sect? Nai Peo smiled. Liang bro, you're talking about something from a wuxia novel, right? In reality, these sects prioritize their own interests. Why would they have the time to find trouble with us for no reason? Wasn't he crazy? He couldn't even take care of his own business. Why would he go find trouble with others? Plus, normal sects do a lot of dirty things as well. From what I know, the famous Sky Elixir sect is a sect that relies on plundering, killing, and pillaging. They specialize in doing evil things. I see. Pin Liang didn't know what was going on, but after hearing Nai Peo's explanation, he realized that he was overthinking things. The devil sect was a powerful sect as well. He was afraid that Nai Peo would become the public enemy of the sects, and if Lin Yi couldn't beat him, he'd join forces with the other righteous sects to wipe out the devil sect disciples. That wouldn't be good, but it seemed like there wouldn't be that much of a problem now. So you're practicing the wasp absorption arts now? What level are you at now? Pin Liang asked quickly. Liang bro, this wasp absorption arts is just a supplementary practitioner's art. My main skill is called the chrysanthemum arts, an exclusive skill of the Day After Day sect. After mastering it, I'll be invincible. Nai Peo didn't hide anything from Pin Liang. Chrysanthemum arts? Pin Liang paused. The name sounded really special, and it sounded really powerful. Can I learn it, Pao? Pin Liang asked. Can I learn it, Pao? Of course, but the process is very tiring. Here's the manual, why don't you take a look first? Nai Peo handed a book to Pin Liang. If Pin Liang really wanted to practice it, with Nai Peo's current position in the sect, he'd only need to say the word. Pin Liang didn't think that Nai Peo would be this easygoing, even giving him the manual. He quickly took it and flipped it open, but the first page gave him quite the shock. There were 8 words on the first page. To practice this skill, one must first castrate themselves. Pin Liang started sweating profusely. No way! He had to castrate himself to practice this skill? Wouldn't that make him a eunuch? Pao, don't tell me you've already. Pin Liang said carefully as he pointed at the words on the book. That's right. Nai Peo sighed and nodded. I'm a eunuch now. But I guess I won't train anymore. Pin Liang's face darkened as he shook his head. I'll be fine as long as I have a good brother like you to train with. I'll be relying on you from now on. No, Liang bro, I was too impatient back then. You can look at the last page. Nai Peo pointed at the chrysanthemum arts. All right. Pin Liang nodded and picked up the chrysanthemum arts, flipping to the next page. There were 8 more words on the last page. Even castrating yourself may not succeed. That's... Pin Liang was dumbfounded. There was a chance of failure? Even if he castrated himself, he might not succeed. All the more reason he couldn't practice this skill. What if he didn't succeed after castrating himself? Wouldn't that be even worse? There's more. Nai Peo pointed at the chrysanthemum arts. Pin Liang paused and flipped to the 3rd page. There were 8 more words. Success without castrating yourself. Pin Liang's eyes went wide. Seriously? Pao, you've been tricked? Chapter 1094. Chapter 1092. Careful after hearing Nai Peo's words, even someone as calculative as Pin Liang felt touched. This was a good brother of his. Pin Liang patted Nai Peo's shoulder. You really are a good brother, Nai Peo. It's good that you've thought things through. I've thought it through a long time ago. If I hadn't been so ruthless as to castrate myself, I wouldn't have been able to gain the favor of Patriarch Mad Bull. He took me in as an in-name disciple and taught me the wasp absorption technique. Nai Peo shook his head nonchalantly. Liang bro, there's always a loss. My talent is decent, but if I didn't castrate myself, I wouldn't have been able to stand out amongst these disciples. Nai Peo, your talent is decent? Pin Liang was a bit surprised. Training required talent, and he knew that, but he didn't expect Nai Peo's talent to be this good. Yes, Training in demonic arts requires talent as well, but according to Master Kuang Yu, the more evil a person is, the easier it is for them to train in demonic arts. Absorbing the wasp venom isn't something that a righteous person can train in. Nai Peo said. Us three brothers are the best when it comes to being evil and evil. Pin Liang laughed. That means that I'm quite suited for this art as well, but letting those wasps sting me. Just the thought of it scares me. Forget it. Right, Nai Peo, what's your strength right now? I'm golden class late phase peak now, and I'll be breaking through in a few days. When I break through to mystic, it'll be Lin Yi's time of death. Nai Peo said confidently. When that time comes, I'll go down the mountain and help Liang Bro vent his anger. You can't. Pin Liang jumped. On one hand, he was shocked at how fast Nai Peo's strength had increased, but on the other hand, he didn't want Nai Peo to go down the mountain and die. You can't? What do you mean? Nai Peo paused. Pow, as far as I know, Lin Yi is at least in the early phase of the mystic class. Pin Liang said. Plus, there's a mystic mid-phase physical practitioner who's no match for Lin Yi. Lin Yi's already crippled him. You can't let your guard down. Ah? How did Lin Yi become so powerful? When I left, wasn't he only at the late phase of the golden class? Nai Peo was taken aback. He didn't think that Lin Yi would level up in this time. One had to know that the proper mental cultivation method was to absorb spiritual energy from the natural world, which made the cultivation process incomparably slow. In those places with abundant spiritual energy, the speed was not as fast as the Devil's Sect Kung Fu, let alone in the city. How did Lin Yi cultivate? Pin Liang nodded solemnly. That's right, but Lin Yi is indeed that strong. He's a mystic early phase spiritual practitioner, and he can injure him with ease. We can't let our guard down. Before we have absolute strength, we can't make an enemy out of him. Unless we have absolute strength and can kill Lin Yi in one hit, then we can't make a move. From what I know, not only can Lin Yi heavily injure a practitioner of the same level, but he can also beat someone of a higher level. He's really hard to deal with. He's that strong? Nai Peo's face turned serious after hearing Pin Liang's words. Nai Peo knew very well what kind of person Pin Liang was. He wouldn't put others down for no reason. There had to be a reason behind what he was saying, and so Nai Peo had to be very careful about it. If that's the case, then unless I'm a mystic late phase or even an earth class, I won't be able to beat Lin. It looks like I won't be able to leave the mountain anytime soon. Yes, if we don't have absolute confidence in winning, then we'll have to endure it. Pin Liang sighed. Pow, I'll be honest with you, I'm really having a hard time right now. I have a lot of enemies, but I have no choice but to endure it. Oh? What enemies? Nai Peo paused. Liang Bro, what happened to you? Your Liang Bro, had my kidney removed. Zhong Ping Liang sighed. I'm a man with only one kidney now. What? Liang Bro, your kidney was cut off? Who did this? Nai Peo's face paled as he looked at Pin Liang in shock. You wouldn't know even if I told you now. Never mind, we'll wait until you leave the mountain and take revenge. You just need to know that I'm having a hard time. Pow, you have to work hard. Pin Liang made himself sound so pitiful because he wanted to ignite Nai Peo's fighting spirit so that he could train harder in the future. Don't worry, Liang Bro. I understand, I'll work harder and become an earth class. Nai Peo swore. And after seeing you today, Xiaofu and I are confident. We know that our day of revenge isn't far. Pin Liang nodded. Right, is there anything you need here? It's nothing, I don't lack anything here. I just train every day, I don't have anything else to do. Nai Peo shook his head. Alright, then Xiaofu and I are relieved to see you. We won't disturb your training, we'll leave the mountain first. We'll come see you another day. Pin Liang said. Alright, I'll send you guys off. Nai Peo nodded. Man, there's no car in your sect. Walking back is so tiring. Pin Liang sighed. One of his kidneys had been cut off, and his stamina wasn't what it used to be. Liang Bro, I'll take you with me. Nai Peo said casually. You'll take me with you? Pin Liang blinked. Nai Peo smiled faintly as he held Xiaofu and Pin Liang by his sides, running down the mountain. Pinliang and Xiaofu jumped in fright, not expecting Naipeo to be this strong, running so fast with a person in each hand. Naipeo was only a golden class late phase. It wasn't hard to imagine that Lin Yi had gone easy on the three, otherwise they would have been killed by Lin Yi long ago. Yu Ren had been very troubled these past 2 days. He'd been frowning all the time, but he didn't dare tell his wife and daughter about it. He wished that this was just a dream, but he knew that it wasn't a dream. Scorpion had come to the market looking for Yu Ren yesterday, telling him that today was the deadline for him to return the money. Man! Yu Ren sighed as he looked at his broken furniture. He didn't know what to do anymore. Chapter 1095. Forcing debts. Dad, what's wrong? Yuan seemed to have noticed that her father wasn't right these past few days. Once her father came home, he always had a sad face. He didn't even look like he was smiling. This was completely different from before. In the past, although the family was poor, and although the days were tiring, but no matter how hard it was, at night, the whole family would eat dinner together, and her father would drink some wine and watch TV. That was the happiest time of the family. But now, her father would drink to drown his sorrows. He wasn't enjoying the happiness of drinking like before. Yu Ren sighed again. He didn't know what to say to his daughter. Dad, what's wrong with you? If there's something on your mind, just say it. I'm your daughter, we'll face it together. Yuan was very sensible as she sat beside her father. Yuan, I've let you down, I've let your mom down. Yu Ren couldn't take it anymore. He was ready to tell her the truth. Today was the deadline, and tonight, Xiao Luozi would bring people to collect the debt. Even if he wanted to hide it, he wouldn't be able to. Dad, why are you saying this all of a sudden? How are you letting me and Mom down? Yuan paused, looking at her father strangely. Yu Ren's wife was a part-time worker. She went to a rich family to be a nanny, so she wasn't home right now. There was only Yu Ren and Yuan at home. Yuan, Dad was tricked into gambling. I lost 500,000. Yu Ren lowered his head, depressed. What? Dad, what did you say? You lost 500,000? Yuan's eyes were wide open. She looked at her father in disbelief. Dad, are you joking? We don't even have 500,000. We don't have 500,000. If we did, I wouldn't be so worried. My 500,000 was a loan from the arena. Yu Ren said with a bitter face, his head down and his face down. Dad, what's going on? Why did you borrow money from the loan sharks? Yuan was shocked. In her eyes, her father had always been a good person. He didn't have any bad habits like gambling. How did he lose 500,000 all of a sudden? Was there a hidden reason behind all of this? It's a long story. Since Yu Ren had opened his mouth, he didn't plan to hide it anymore. He told his daughter about how he went to the arena, how he was tempted to borrow money to bet, and how he lost everything. Dad, it's illegal for these people to organize an underground boxing club. Moreover, gambling is also illegal. We can call the police. As long as we call the police, I believe that the police will definitely catch them all in one fell swoop. You don't have to pay back the money. Although Yuan was a working girl, she also knew the law. She knew that whether it was underground boxing or organized gambling, they were all illegal acts. Yuan, your way of thinking is too childish. Yu Ren waved his hand and shook his head. If I dared to call the police, would I be sighing like this? They were an organization, not a single person. They were ruthless and killed without batting an eye. When people died, their corpses were dragged out to feed the crocodiles. They could do anything. We called the police. Indeed, the police had the ability to destroy their underground boxing arena, but what about us? Their organization wouldn't let our family go. Yuan was young, but she understood the logic behind her father's words. This underground boxing arena wasn't an independent existence. There was a bigger organization behind it. Even if the arena was destroyed, as long as the organization was still there, her family wouldn't be able to live in peace anymore. Plus, from her father's words, she knew that these people were demons who killed without batting an eyelid. They would definitely come for revenge. Yuan, what do you think I should do? I really regret it listening to other people's words. Now, there's nothing we can do. Yu Ren sighed and said helplessly. While the father and daughter were talking, there was a sudden violent knock on the door. Yu Ren jumped in fright. It must be Scorpion coming to collect the debt. Yu Ren's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Dad, is Mom back? Yuan was also a little worried. No, it must be the people from the casino. Yu Ren hesitated. Yuan, don't make a sound. We'll pretend that we're not home and hide for today. We'll think of a plan later. Yuan nodded in fear and didn't say anything. The knocking on the door got louder and louder. Old Yu, hurry up and open the door. I know you're in there. Dad, what do we do? I'm so scared. Yuan sounded righteous when she said it, but when the evil came to her door, she was scared again. Don't talk, they can't do anything if we hide in the house. There's a security door here, they can't come in. Yu Ren lowered his voice and wiped the sweat off his forehead. Oh. Yuan nodded. But as soon as Yu Ren's voice faded, there was a loud bang, followed by the sound of metal breaking. The next moment, the voices outside became clearer. Old Yu, since you're not opening the door, we'll come in ourselves. It's just a security door, it's nothing to fight early. Scorpion shouted arrogantly as he walked into the house. Yu Ren was dumbfounded. He didn't think that his house's security door would be this weak, broken by that fighterly with one punch. This time, there was no point in pretending that he wasn't at home anymore. They were already in. What should we do? Yuan was dumbfounded as well. In her mind, she couldn't understand how a person could use the strength of his bare hands to break the security door. What kind of strength was that? We can only take one step at a time. Yu Ren sighed helplessly. If he knew this would happen, why did he do it? He shouldn't have listened to those people, and he wouldn't have owed so much money. Old Yu, do you think you'll be fine just by hiding in the house? Today is the deadline to return the money. If you don't return the money after 12 o'clock, TSK, we can only take coercive measures. Scorpion bro, I really don't have much money at home. Yu Ren cried as he carefully walked out of the room. He saw Scorpion and a big man standing in front of his house. Chapter 1096. You're smart. Scorpion bro, please let me go. I'm already so old, if I were to go up there and fight, wouldn't I be killed in one hit? Yu Ren shivered and looked at Scorpion carefully, speaking weakly. So what if you die? Scorpion didn't care. Who doesn't die? So what if you die? Yu Ren was pissed off, but he didn't have any temper. He hesitated. How about, I go with you guys to fight, can you let my wife and daughter go? No Dad, don't go, I'll go. Yuan was very filial. She knew that as long as she went on stage, she would die for sure. Commoners like them who hadn't gone through any training, how could they be a match for the fighters? So, Yuan thought that if she could exchange her death for her parents' safety, it would be worth it. Yu Ren, are you guys stupid? I'll find a fighter to fight, and they'll only pay 100 or 200,000 at most, and you want to pay 500,000? Are you dreaming? Scorpion humphed and said in disdain, I feel like I'm losing out if your whole family goes on stage. You're forcing me to die. Yu Ren was panicking. If this whole family went on stage, they wouldn't be able to return. So what if I'm forcing you? Die if you can, pay me back if you can't. Scorpion humphed and said. Yu Ren felt bitter, thinking that he really couldn't do anything. With that thought, Yu Ren couldn't help but sigh and lower his head. Don't trouble my dad, the son will pay his father's debt, I'll go with you guys. Yuan couldn't help but stand up after seeing her father's troubled look. How much can you earn by fighting in the ring? But little girl, you are not bad looking. How about this, I'll sell you to a brothel. We'll talk about it when I earn 500,000. Little Scorpion squinted his eyes and looked at Yuan. It was as if he suddenly had an idea. Yuan was dumbfounded after hearing Scorpion's words. She didn't care if she died, but if she was sold to a brothel where she would be humiliated by different men every day, she'd rather die. Yuan immediately shook her head. How can I do that? Then I might as well die. Hey, you can die. If you die, I'll still bring your parents to fight. Little Scorpion didn't care. Who are you trying to scare with death? How can you be like this? Yuan's tears immediately flowed out. She felt that these people were so unreasonable. How could they be so overbearing? However, she would never agree to let Yu Yuanyuan work in a brothel. But this girl is not bad, huh? It's quite to my liking. Fighter Li, who had been silent all this time, finally opened his mouth. He looked at Yu Yuanyuan with his eyes squinted. Not bad, not bad. Although Yu Yuanyuan wasn't a top-notch beauty, she was very pure. She belonged to the type that the more you look at her, the more you look at her. As for Fighter Li, he had played with many prostitutes, so he liked the pure type. Otherwise, he wouldn't have fallen in love with Yu Yuanyuan and created such a complicated scene. However, he didn't look for Yu Yuanyuan to play with her once or twice. He wanted Yu Yuanyuan to be his long-term concubine. It'd be best if she willingly served him. That way, it'd be fun. Forcing her wasn't Fighter Li's style. Oh, Fighter Li, you like this girl? Little Scorpion pretended not to know and asked in surprise. And that's right, I like her. Fighter Li didn't hide anything and nodded. Little girl, I like you. Come back with me and be my concubine. Serve me well and I'll guarantee you a good life. Your father's debt will also be written off. How about it? Yu Yuanyuan was suddenly at a loss. She was quite unwilling to be with an emotionless evil person, but what could she do even if she didn't want to? Yu Yuanyuan didn't want to, but she knew that this way, she and her father wouldn't have to die. The crisis at home would be over. What do you mean? Scorpion frowned and became impatient. I'm telling you, Yu Yuanyuan, either you serve Fighter Li or you go to a brothel and earn me 500,000. Make your choice. But Yu Yuanyuan lowered her head helplessly. Tears welled up in her eyes. At this moment, she really didn't know what to do. If she could choose, she'd rather die. But she also knew that if she died, her parents wouldn't have it easy either. They'd all die. If what Fighter Li said was true, then she'd sacrifice herself for the happiness of her family. Even though she didn't want to serve Fighter Li, it was still better than going to a brothel. You're still hesitating when it's such a good thing? Scorpion turned around impatiently and said to Fighter Li, this girl doesn't know what's good for her. Why don't we just let it go? There are so many pretty girls out there, why waste time on her? I'll find you another one later. Let's sell her to a brothel. You can't force a melon to be sweet. Look at her hesitant face. If she doesn't serve you well, then what's the use of her? No need, I like her. Fighter Li waved his hand and said, little girl, your name is Yu Yuanyuan, right? Let me tell you, I may be a rough person, but I love you. If you follow me, you won't lose anything. But Yu Yuanyuan hesitated and looked at her father Yuren. Yuren didn't feel good either. But what could he do? Facing people like Scorpion and Fighter Li, the life and death of his family were in their hands. He didn't dare resist at all. Yuanyuan, what do you think? Yuren was still a man of principle. He wanted his daughter to make a choice. If you don't want to, then the three of us can go to hell together. We don't need to suffer anymore. But I'll go with him. Yu Yuanyuan hesitated and finally nodded with tears in her eyes. Her whole family was dead. That was not what she wanted. But now, she only needed to serve Fighter Li. That was a blessing in disguise. As long as her parents were fine, Yu Yuanyuan would accept it. Chapter 1097. Chapter 1095. Gooden's secret Fighter Li was also very happy when he heard this news. He thought that he would have to force Yuanyuan a few more times before she would give in, but he didn't expect that this was the first time they came, and just by smashing the door, the father and daughter were already scared to the point of wetting their pants. Then what else is there to say? Let's go. Fighter Li looked at the beautiful Yu Yuanyuan, and his heart skipped a beat. He wanted to carry her to the bed. Wait, you need to give me a few days to get used to it. Yuanyuan had made up her mind to leave with Fighter Li, but she wasn't mentally prepared yet. She needed some time to prepare. You still need time to get used to it? Fighter Li frowned, impatient. Since you've agreed, then come with me. You're not thinking of playing tricks, are you? What tricks can I play? Yuanyuan mocked herself. Right now, everything is in your hands. I just want to accept everything calmly. Give me some time, and I'll go with you willingly. I don't think you want to use force, right? That's true. After listening to Yuanyuan's words, Fighter Li was relieved. He really didn't like to use force, so for Yuan's request, Fighterly thought for a moment and agreed. If you say so, then I'll give you 3 days. 3 days later, I'll bring you into the house. Yuan smiled sadly, nodded and said, all right, 3 days it is. Good, if that's the case, old you, we're a family now. You can't live in this house anymore, the door's broken. Here's 100,000 kwai, consider it my dowry money. Take it and find a hotel to stay in, and then change the door. Fighterly took out the 100,000 kwai he prepared and slapped it on the table. Yuan wanted to reject it, since he was selling his daughter for money. He couldn't accept it, but Yuan took the money and gave it to Yuan. Dad, take it? Yuan was in despair. She just wanted to maximize her value. Now that she could subsidize her family with some money, Yuan felt a little better. Fighterly and Scorpion saw that they had succeeded and didn't stay any longer. They turned around and left Yuan's house, leaving Yuan and his daughter behind. They looked at each other and sighed. They could only blame fate for not being fair. It was too hard. West Star Mountain Village. Erguden finished his farm chores and ran to West Star Mountain after notifying his father. West Star Mountain's terrain was treacherous, and there were many ferocious beasts roaming about. Therefore, even if the residents of the nearby mountain villages went hunting in the mountain, they would only move around the foot of the mountain. They did not dare to go deep into the mountain. In Star West Village, only 3 people dared to go deep into the mountains. One was the old doctor in the village, Old Lin, the other was the little medicine boy, Lin Yi, and the last one was Lin Yi's follower, Erguden, Zhou Jiaming. At the back of West Star Mountain, there was a nameless spring. Erguden was standing next to it, scooping up some water and putting it into his mouth. Guden wanted to drink to his heart's content, but after years of experimenting, he knew that drinking more or less wouldn't have much of an effect. It could only last for a short period of time, and after a while, the effect would fade. Erguden had thought of using a bottle to bring some water with him, but once the water left the nameless spring, it would lose its effect. This made Erguden feel helpless, but there was nothing he could do. Who told him to be naughty when he was young, secretly drinking Old Lin's medicine? It was said that he had a type of poison in his body, and he needed this nameless spring to provide energy. If he didn't replenish the water in a short period of time, the poison would start to absorb his energy, and eventually, he would be consumed by the poison. This was why Erguden couldn't go out as he pleased. After drinking the water, Erguden flew down the mountain and ran to Old Lin's house. When Guden arrived at Old Lin's house, Old Lin was checking the pulse of an old lady from the neighboring village. He only nodded at him when he saw Guden, signaling for him to sit on the side and wait while Old Lin continued to check on the old lady. Erguden was a regular at Old Lin's house, and he didn't mind strangers. He sat on the side and waited for Old Lin. Old Lin was the only doctor in this area, and there weren't any proper hospitals nearby. Whenever people got sick, they would come to Old Lin for treatment. Of course, they didn't know that Old Lin was a miracle healer. They came here to enjoy the treatment of a miracle healer at a super cheap price. It's just a cold. Do you want Chinese medicine or Western medicine? Old Lin asked faintly. How much is Chinese medicine, and how much is Western medicine? The people here cared a lot about money. The old lady was calculating which medicine was cheaper. Chinese medicine is 20, Western medicine is 50 cents. Old Man Lin did not bother to explain the difference between Chinese and Western medicine. Old Man Lin's purpose here was to conceal his identity, not to save people. Western medicine then, the old lady said quickly. Quick Effect Cold Capsule, 50 cents a pack. Old Lin found a pack of Quick Effect Cold Capsule and handed it to the old lady. The old lady gave the money and left. Old Lin turned to Erguden. Erguden, you're here today to find Lil E, right? Yes, Grandpa Lin, boss told me to give him medicine. Guden nodded honestly. You're done with your family business? It's already past the spring plowing season. Old Lin nodded and went to get the medicine for Guden. You drank the water from the spring, right? Grandpa Lin, I drank it just now. Guden didn't hide anything from Old Lin. Okay, that's good. But remember, you have to come back within 3 months. Otherwise, even I won't be able to save you. Old Lin said solemnly as he put a bottle in Guden's hands. Don't worry, Grandpa Lin, I know how important this is. I'll definitely come back. Gooden didn't dare joke around with his life. Right, here's 2,000 kwai. Take it with you as travel expenses. Old Lin took out another 2,000 kwai and gave it to Gooden. How can I? Gooden jumped. He didn't think that Old Lin would give him this much money. 2,000 kwai was enough for a family in a small village like this for a year or two. Chapter 1098. Chapter 1096. Ask your boyfriend. Gooden, naturally, didn't say anything else after hearing that it was Lin Yi's idea. He took the money and put it in his pocket. Other than his parents, he only listened to Lin. Be careful on the road, you're a straightforward person. I'm not worried about your kung fu, but I'm worried that you'll get scammed. Old Lin said, don't trust people easily when you're outside. Ah. Gooden scratched his head and smiled. This is Lil Yi's address and contact number. Keep it safe and contact him when you get there. Old Lin gave Gooden another piece of paper. Gooden quickly put it away with the money and nodded. When do I leave, Grandpa Lin? Tomorrow. I'll book a ticket for you later. Old Lin said. The next morning, Gooden started his journey. On the train, he listened to Old Lin's words and showed enough vigilance. He didn't want to talk to strangers casually. He heard that there were a lot of scammers on the train, and he didn't want to start on a bad note. Lingshan's strength had increased greatly, but the joy that came with it didn't last long. The seemingly peaceful Songshan City had another case. Up until now, there had been 6 cases of hooligans causing trouble and running away, 5 cases of foreign workers running away because of a conflict, 3 cases of illegal taxi drivers running away, 2 cases of fitness trainers taking liberties with female students and running away. There were also more than 10 cases of workers running away from various industries. Adding them all up, there were almost 30 cases of people disappearing out of nowhere. And this was just the known cases. There should be more unknown cases, but there was no way to count them yet. The missing people were all from different professions, and they didn't seem to be connected at all. But the fact that so many of them had escaped in such a short period of time was enough to draw the attention of the higher-ups. Even Huaijuan, who was far away in the provincial capital, had gotten the news and called to ask about the details of Lingshan's case. Instinctively, Lingshan felt that things weren't as simple as they seemed. These missing people didn't have any connection with each other, and they weren't related at all. They hadn't even seen each other before, but they all had one thing in common. They were all strong men, and not a single woman. Of course, this could be a coincidence, but Lingshan felt that it wasn't. At present, these cases were just simple missing persons cases. They had not risen to the level of criminal cases. After all, they were just missing people, not corpses. But Lingshan felt that these cases weren't as simple as the missing person cases. There had to be some secrets and secrets hidden in there. Lingshan didn't have any leads yet. Dang dang dang. There was a knock on the office door. Come in. Lingshan calmed herself down, returning to her usual composure. Captain Song, there's another case from the traffic police, a bus driver who ran away after a hit-and-run. It's been confirmed that his ID and driver's license were fake. Wang Lin pushed the door open and placed a case file on Lingshan's desk. Wang Lin, what do you think? Is this case the same as the missing girl's case? Lingshan frowned as she looked at the file Wang Lin handed her. Based on my intuition, yes, but there's no evidence. Wang Lin sighed. Captain Song, I feel like there's a huge conspiracy brewing here. We can't let our guard down. Yeah, I think so too. But for now, apart from the disappearance of these people, everything is peaceful. Lingshan sighed. If they didn't really run away, then why are we not seeing their corpses? That's the most important point. If these people were killed or controlled, there should be clues, but it doesn't seem like that. From what we know, these people ran away willingly, no one forced them or threatened them. Wang Lin said. Let's pay close attention. Lingshan nodded as well. What Wang Lin said was exactly what she couldn't figure out. Yes. Captain Song, there's something that I don't know if I should say. Wang Lin was about to leave after he agreed, but he stopped in his tracks. If you have something to say, just say it. Lingshan nodded, indicating for Wang Lin to speak. Captain Song, why don't we ask your boyfriend if there's any news? Wang Li suggested after some hesitation. I understand. Ling Shan frowned. She didn't expect Wang Li to suggest asking Lin. This made her a little depressed, but also a little happy, because Wang Li said that Lin Yi was her boyfriend. Of course, Wang Li was Ling Shan's confidant now, so she didn't blame him. She knew that his suggestion was for her own good. Wang Li didn't say anything else as he left the office. Ling Shan, on the other hand, hesitated for a bit before calling Lin Yi's number. Lin Yi was discussing the product launch with Fatty Lai, Guan Shuemin, and Kong Xiaobo when Ling Shan's call came in. Lin Yi gestured to Fatty Lai and the others before walking to the window to pick up the phone. Hello? What's up this time? Lin Yi's tone wasn't too pleasant when he saw Ling Shan's number. Lin Yi, there's something I need your help with? Ling Shan said after some hesitation. I don't have time, I'm busy. Lin Yi thought. As expected, Ling Shan's call was nothing good. She must be begging him. Lin Yi, help me, Miss Dumbo will be very grateful. Ling Shan said coquettishly when she heard Lin Yi's rejection. I'll cook for you the next time you come. Lin Yi was speechless. This Ling Shan seemed to be pestering him. I'm starting to regret it now. Last time at your house, I should have just pushed you down. Why are you so troublesome? Lin Yi asked, amused and angry at the same time. Next time isn't too late. Ling Shan blushed slightly, but she was happy inside. So the reason Lin Yi didn't push her down wasn't because he didn't like her, but because he was afraid that she'd cause too much trouble. It seemed like she still had her charm. Miss Song, work hard. One day you'll succeed. Ling Shan cheered herself on. Chapter 1099. Someone from House Pi. Alright. It's like this, in Songshan, there's been around 30 missing persons cases, and most of them are gangsters, foreign workers, illegal drivers, etc. They all ran away after committing some small crimes. Ling Shan said succinctly, Lin Yi, can you help me keep an eye out for them? How am I supposed to keep an eye out for them? Lin Yi frowned. Are you relying on me now? That's not it. Ling Shan said, a little embarrassed. Indeed, Ling Shan was starting to get a little reliant on Lin Yi, thinking that he was omnipotent. As long as she needed something, he'd do it for her. All right, is there anything else? Lin Yi said faintly. No, that's all. Ling Shan never felt confident in front of Lin. Lin Yi didn't say much and hung up. Ling Shan held the phone helplessly. She'd wanted to ask Lin Yi if there was anything wrong with him leveling up her strength, but judging from Lin Yi's tone, he didn't seem to be affected at all. She'd told Lin Yi about it, but she still didn't feel confident. After all the previous cases had details, but this one was still a mystery, and Lin Yi didn't seem to want to help at all. This made her a little disappointed. Xiao family had been keeping a low profile these days. Without Uncle Pai's support, the already declining Xiao family was walking on a path of no return. All their old relationships were drifting away, and even the in-laws, House Kong, had cut off all ties with Xiao family. Xiao Ji sat in the villa's living room, sighing. Xiao Ben was at his wits' end as well. Xiao family's situation was getting worse, and they still owed Lin Yi a huge sum of money. Lin Yi didn't come to their door to ask for it, but Xiao family's situation wasn't any better. Brother, Xiao family's huge business is going to be destroyed in my hands. I can't accept this. Xiao Ji's eyes were bloodshot. He hadn't slept well for days. It's all that bitch Go Huli's fault. She made Xiao family an enemy for no reason, and she even hit Uncle Pai with her car. I'm going to kill her right now. With that, Xiao Ji stood up, ready to go fight Go Huli. Brother, calm down. Xiao Ben saw his big brother's crazy look and quickly got up to stop him. Big brother, what are you doing? Since you also know that the Xiao family is at the moment of life and death, why are you still fighting among yourselves here? Going to sis-in-law? What's the point? Xiao Ben was a smart man. He tried his best to fight for the position of the head of the house when his grandfather was still alive, but after his death, he realized the danger that Xiao family was in. If he fought amongst himself now, it would only make Xiao family die even faster. Plus, his brother wasn't that smart, and he had to discuss everything with him. Xiao Ben was basically the head of the house now, and he didn't need to fight for anything. Plus, with Xiao family's current situation, where would they have the time to fight for the head of the house? Brother, I want to calm down, but can I? The meeting of the noble houses is about to start, and I think that this time, House Yu will kick us out of the noble house list. Xiao family won't be a noble house anymore. Xiao Ji's face was bitter as he sat down. Brother, the situation is already like this. Even if you kill sis-in-law, what can you do? Xiao Ben waved his hand. I'm afraid we can only count on House Wu, but I don't know if Xiao Wangdao and Xiao Wangba have a good relationship with Chen Tian. I heard that House Kang's Kang Xiaolong has a good relationship with Chen Tian. I'm just worried that he'll try to sow discord between them. Then what should we do now? Xiao Ji had no idea at all. No matter what, life has to go on. Tomorrow I'll go take a look, and if it doesn't work, I'll open a restaurant or something to sustain Xiao family's expenses, and then we'll look for opportunities in the future. Xiao Ben felt that he was the head of Xiao family, but at this moment, he didn't feel any joy of being the head of the house, and he was worried to death. However, at this moment, the doorbell of the villa's gate rang. Who's visiting at this time? Xiao Ji paused. The current Xiao family was deserted, and no one would come to visit. Xiao Wangdao and Xiao Wangba both had keys, and they didn't need to ring the doorbell. Could it be Lin Yi again? Xiao Ben was shocked and he walked out. Whether it was Lin Yi or not, he had to face it head-on. However, the people at the entrance of the villa surprised Xiao Ben. They were two unfamiliar men whom he had never met before. You are? Xiao Ben didn't know who they were, and he asked curiously. This is Xiao family, right? One of the young men asked, but his attitude was very arrogant. Yes, you are. Xiao Ben saw the young man's arrogant attitude, and a trace of displeasure flashed in his eyes. But there was a saying that a tiger would be bullied by a dog, and the current Xiao family was not what it used to be, and they shouldn't have any more enemies. So, Xiao Ben didn't get angry, and only asked patiently, "Where's Uncle Pai?" The young man asked after confirming that this was Xiao family. Uncle Pai. Xiao Ben paused, but he reacted quickly and asked, "You're talking about Uncle Pai, right?" "Yes, where is he?" "I heard he was beaten into a vegetable?" The young man's eyes flashed with anger. Although Uncle Pai was kicked out of House Pai by his grandfather, he was still a member of the hidden House Pai. Now that he was beaten into a vegetable, House Pai couldn't just ignore it. Of course, this wasn't the young man's decision, but the result of a family meeting in House Pai, and it was also approved by his grandfather. The young man's name was Pai Zhishan, the eldest grandson of House Pai. The silent man beside him was his cousin, Pai Zhihai, the son of his second uncle's family. This time, they came to see the world, and the one in charge was Pai Zhishan. In fact, he had never met Uncle Pai before, and in the end, Uncle Pai was just a housekeeper who made a mistake. But even so, House Pai's children were prideful from a young age, and they wouldn't let others bully them. And this time, he didn't just come to help Uncle Pai, he came with another mission. Chapter 1100. No way to escape. Yes, why aren't you opening the door? Pai Zhishan humphed and ordered Xiao Ben. Please come in, please come in. Xiao Ben wasn't angry. Pai Zhishan was cold and arrogant, but from Xiao Ben's perspective, if they were really Uncle Pai's family, then they wouldn't be weak. There was nothing wrong with being arrogant. Xiao Ben quickly opened the door and let Pai Zhishan and Pai Zhihai in. If it weren't for Uncle Pai's relationship with you guys, I would have kicked this door away already. Pai Zhishan humphed. His main purpose for coming here was to show off. He wanted to show off his strength so that the Xiao family would be willing to work with him. So Pai Zhishan always maintained this sense of superiority. Xiao Ben's face was a little unhappy. Even if they were Uncle Pai's family, wasn't this a little too arrogant? Kicking the door when you're in someone else's house? Plus, the door was made of steel, how could it be kicked away? What, you don't believe me? Pai Zhishan smiled coldly and turned around. Of course I believe you. Xiao Ben knew that if the Xiao family wanted to rise again, they would need the help of Uncle Pai's family. So he didn't dare refute Pai Zhishan's words. Pai Zhishan looked at the stone lion in the yard and said to Pai Zhihai, "Zhihai, smash that lion. It's an eyesore." "Yes, big brother." Pai Zhihai replied and walked towards the stone lion. With a wave of his hand, the stone lion was smashed into a pile of rubble. Hiss, Xiao Ben took in a deep breath. Originally, He was annoyed with Pai Zhishan's attitude because of his young age. He thought that Pai Zhishan was just a messenger for the Pai family, so he didn't think much of him. But now, it seemed that he was wrong. Age wasn't the limit to ambition. These two young men were no weaker than Uncle Pai. In other words, these two were masters as well. Thinking of this, Xiao Ben's face suddenly showed a flattering expression. You two are really amazing. This lion is really an eyesore. This villa is a second-hand house. When we moved in, we wanted to throw the lion out, but it was too heavy. None of us could move it, so we could only give up. Thank you two masters today. Xiao Ben's words were against his conscience. They bought the lion when they moved in to protect the house. But now, to please Pai Zhishan and Pai Zhihai, he had no choice but to say this. It's nothing. Pai Zhishan said faintly, then entered the villa with Pai Zhihai. They sat on the sofa in the living room. As for Xiao Ji, although he didn't go out, he could see the scene outside clearly from the living room. At first, he was just like his second brother, Xiao Ben, and was dissatisfied with the arrogance of these two young men. But after seeing their tyrannical strength, he immediately lost his temper, and just like his second brother, his face was full of flattery. Two experts, how should I address you? I'm the head of the Xiao family, Xiao Ji. Uncle Pai watched me grow up. Xiao Ji's speech was a little clumsy, and his greeting was a little pretentious. But Pai Zhishan didn't mind. This was the effect he wanted. Only by shocking the Xiao family could he proceed with the next step of his plan. I'm Pai Zhishan, and this is my brother Pai Zhihai. To be honest, we're from the hidden house Pai. Pai Zhishan sat down on the sofa and introduced himself. Hidden house Pai? Although the Xiao family was a weak noble house, they still had some understanding of the hidden houses. Naturally, they knew that one of them was House Pai. The hidden house Pai was even stronger than the hidden house Zhao, but the Xiao family had never thought that Uncle Pai was from the hidden house Pai. That was such a powerful existence. Thinking up to this point, Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben were filled with excitement, but at the same time, their hearts were filled with apprehension. Facing the hidden house Pai, opportunity and danger came hand in hand. If they could form a relationship with the hidden house Pai, then the Xiao family would instantly rise from a weak noble house to a top noble house. But the problem was, why did the hidden house Pai come today? From the looks of it, there was a 90% chance that it was because of Uncle Pai's injuries. Uncle Pai was injured by Go Huli's car, so the hidden house Pai didn't cause trouble for the Xiao family. Why would they help the Xiao family? Ah, it's Master Pai and Master Pai. Xiao Ben didn't dare to be slow, and he didn't dare to take advantage of his seniority. He carefully called Pai Zhishan and Pai Zhihai as Master Pai and Master Pai, trying to figure out why they were here. Pai Zhishan nodded and accepted the title. Right, what's going on with my Uncle Pai? Tell me in detail. Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben's hearts tightened, and they looked at each other. As expected, the hidden house Pai didn't come with good intentions. They were here for Uncle Pai's injury. Xiao Ben gave Xiao Ji a look, indicating that he would be the one to explain. Naturally, Xiao Ji was more than happy to do so. He wouldn't be able to explain himself. Actually, it's like this. Xiao Ben didn't dare hide anything now. In front of masters like Pai Zhishan and Pai Zhihai, it was better to tell the truth. If the truth was exposed, then the Xiao family would suffer even more. So he told them everything, including how Uncle Pai was hit by Go Huli's car. I'm sorry, this woman is too reckless. I'll bring her here right now, and you two can do whatever you want with her. Xiao Ji didn't dare to protect Go Huli now. Plus, he felt that Xiao family was harmed by Go Huli. There's no need. Pai Zhishan waved his hand and stopped Xiao Ji. He was here as a representative of House Pai to discuss something important with Xiao family. To Xiao family, they needed to show their strength and intimidate them. They also needed to give them some benefits. Only then would Xiao family be willing to work for House Pai. Pai Zhishan was young, but he learned a lot from his grandfather. He was arrogant, but he had the right to be arrogant. This matter, as you said, Go Huli is responsible, but it's only secondary. Pai Zhishan said faintly. Thank you, Master Pai, for your magnanimity. Xiao Ben quickly said. No matter what, Pai Zhishan's attitude made Xiao Ben sigh in relief. If House Pai wanted an explanation from Xiao family, then Xiao family wouldn't be their match. That was the hidden House Pai. Chapter 1101. Chapter 1099. Cooperation. This is what we should do. We will take responsibility. Xiao Ben was nervous, but he had to admit his wrongdoings. He only hoped that his attitude would be better, and House Pai would forgive him. If that's the case, then I won't waste any more words with you. However, Xiao family isn't in a good situation right now. Even if you have to take responsibility, what will you take out? Pai Zhishan looked at Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben, and said coldly, the Xiao family right now, other than the lives of the two misters, what else can they take out? Little kid, you're too much. My Xiao family may be down and out, but it's not up to you to judge. My wife Go Huli may have bumped into Uncle Pai, but what does that have to do with Xiao family? If you want to blame someone, you can always find a reason. Do whatever you want. I, Xiao Ji, am standing right here. What can you do to me? Xiao Ji was a hot-tempered person, and when he heard Pai Zhishan's words, he panicked. Big brother. Xiao Ben was panicking. His big brother's temper was really bad. But before Xiao Ben could say anything, there was a loud slap, and the next moment, half of Xiao Ji's face swelled up, and one of his teeth fell out. He couldn't speak, but neither Xiao Ji nor Xiao Ben saw if it was Pai Zhishan or Pai Zhihai who did it, or maybe they didn't even do anything. Xiao Ji realized that although he was facing two young men, they were masters no weaker than Uncle Pai. Xiao Ji was a little scared at the thought, especially when he recalled the scene of Pai Zhihai smashing the stone lion at the entrance. He was even more frightened. He was a little impatient, but he wasn't an idiot. He understood the situation, and an awkward expression appeared on his face. I'm sorry, young Masters Pai. I didn't think of what I said. Xiao Ji covered his swollen face and said embarrassedly. He was completely scared. This is a lesson, Pai Zhishan said faintly. Pai Zhishan said calmly. Against someone like Xiao Ji, they had to be scared of him. Otherwise, it would be hard to negotiate. Now that Xiao Ji had given in, Pai Zhishan didn't have to waste any more words. Xiao Ji, you are a brute. I won't argue with you. But Xiao Ben, you're a smart man. Tell me, what else does the Xiao family have to compensate us? I really didn't. Although Xiao Ben didn't want to admit it, it was the truth. The Xiao family's downfall was right in front of him, so it was no wonder that Pai Zhishan said this. I really didn't expect the Xiao family to have fallen to such a state. They are still one of the aristocratic families, but now they don't look like a big family at all. Pai Zhishan frowned. He looked around the mansion and said, I don't know if the family's decision was right or wrong. They actually chose you two useless people to work with. Cooperation? When Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben heard Pai Zhishan's seemingly unintentional words, they were shocked. Could it be that the hidden House Pai was here to cooperate with them? If the hidden House Pai was really here to cooperate with the Xiao family, then wouldn't the Xiao family have hope? With that thought, Xiao Ben quickly asked, Master Pai, you mean? You want to cooperate with the Xiao family? This is just a preliminary intention. Whether we can cooperate or not depends on your performance, Pai Zhishan said faintly. Please speak, Master Pai. Xiao Ben was very happy. As long as House Pai was willing to cooperate with him, then the Xiao family wouldn't fall to such a state. They might even become one of the best of the noble houses. So, no matter what, he had to make House Pai cooperate with him, no matter how much he had to pay. The relationship between House Yu and the hidden House Yu, I wonder if you know about it? Pai Zhishan nodded, satisfied with Xiao Ben's response. Naturally, if it wasn't for the hidden House Yu supporting us, then House Yu wouldn't have become the #1 noble house. Xiao Ben's heart jumped. Could it be that the hidden House Pai wanted the Xiao family to become a noble house like House Yu? Xiao Ben was excited. If we support the hidden House Pai, what can you do for the Xiao family? In other words, how much profit can we get? Pai Zhishan said the main point of this negotiation. House Pai was indeed a hidden noble house, but according to the rules of the hidden noble house, they weren't allowed to interfere with the common world's business. In other words, other than focusing on training, they couldn't openly make money in the common world. However, the hidden House Yu had used a roundabout method to directly control the common world's House Yu, turning them into their own tools. The common House Yu, on the other hand, used the hidden House Yu's power to become the head of the noble houses. The hidden House Yu, on the other hand, used the wealth that the common House Yu gave to them every year to grow bigger and bigger. House Yu's situation was accidental, and other noble houses couldn't replicate it. After all, the hidden House Yu and the common House Yu were two different houses. They only got in touch later on. This kind of avoidance method wasn't something that others could learn. They couldn't create a common branch, and so they could only watch as House Yu made money. The agreement wasn't just for show. If they pissed off the witnesses of the agreement, it wouldn't be a joke. However, all these years, the witnesses of the agreement and the Sky Class Masters had all disappeared, and this agreement wasn't as effective as it used to be. Recently, the hidden House Zhao had started to stir, and they had a bastard son, Zhao Qibing, who was making money in the common world. Of course, no one dared to blatantly break the convention, but there was no problem with a roundabout way. House Yu, for example, had been making money for so many years, and nothing happened to them, right? And so, the hidden House Zhao let Zhao Qibing make money in the common world, saying that Zhao Qibing was a bastard son of House Zhao, and that his bloodline wasn't pure, so he couldn't enter House Zhao's door. Of course, even if his bloodline wasn't pure, he was still House Zhao's son, so it was understandable that House Zhao gave him some help. But everyone knew that Zhao Qibing's money in the common world was for the hidden House Zhao. And so, with House Yu and House Zhao as precedents, the other noble houses couldn't sit still anymore. They all thought of ways and excuses to enter the common world to make money. These hidden houses, while strong in the Wulin world, didn't have much money. Chapter 1102. The Rise of the Xiao Family. The hidden House Pai was one of the hidden houses that were ready to make a move. House Pai was worried about not having a chance to get involved in the common world, but the Xiao family gave them a great opportunity. The Xiao family's guardian, Uncle Pai, was the housekeeper of the hidden house. Though he had an affair with a maid and was kicked out by the head of House Pai, he was still part of the hidden house. Now that he was in a vegetative state, House Pai announced to the public that they would investigate the truth. And so, the hidden House Pai naturally came to House Xiao, and through their connection, they interfered with the affairs of the common world. Xiao Ji didn't quite understand Pai Zhishan's words, but Xiao Ben was a smart man. He understood immediately. House Pai wanted to get money from the common world, but they couldn't do it directly, so they turned their attention to the Xiao family. Uncle Pai was just an excuse. Looking at the two young masters' faces, they didn't seem to care about Uncle Pai's life or death. Otherwise, why didn't they ask to see Uncle Pai after coming to the Xiao family for so long? Xiao Ben let out a sigh of relief. As long as House Pai wasn't here to cause trouble, then everything would be fine. And it seemed like House Pai was going to use the Xiao family to get involved in the common world's business. Then the Xiao family wouldn't have any trouble. Young Masters Pai, there are two reasons why the Xiao family fell to this state. One is that when my old man was alive, he made a lot of mistakes in investments and lost most of the family's assets. The second reason is that we didn't have a strong master, so our ranking wasn't high, and we weren't treated well. Xiao Ben was honest, telling them the reason why the Xiao family fell. And on the matter of Uncle Pai, the Xiao family made a mistake. They didn't know that Pengzhan Industries had a strong master backing them up, so they lost both their assets. But at the end of the day, the Xiao family didn't have a strong master. Of course I know what you're saying. Pai Zhishan nodded. If I send you a strong master, will you be able to expand your business in a short period of time? Young Master Pai, to put it bluntly, the more support you give me, the bigger the stage I can step on. Xiao Ben said, when aristocratic families do business, most of the time, they rely on their connections and strength. Alright, now, let's talk about the division of profits. Pai Zhishan roughly understood what Xiao Ben meant, but Xiao Ben's request was not a problem for Pai Zhishan. House Pai had already discussed it, and they would send their masters to House Xiao. Of course, to the outside world, it was just to investigate the truth behind Uncle Pai's injury, and to protect Uncle Pai's friends, House Xiao. What does young Master Pai want to do? Xiao Ben's expression turned serious. This was a very important question. 90%. You get 10%, we get 90, Pai Zhishan said calmly. This. Xiao Ben's expression changed as he smiled bitterly. Young Master Pai, isn't this a bit too harsh? That. Xiao Ben's face changed. He smiled bitterly. Young Master Pai, isn't that a bit too harsh? Although the situation was dire, Xiao Ben thought that House Pai wanted to use Xiao family to make money, so he bargained. Xiao Ben, you need to understand the situation. What Xiao Ben didn't expect was that Pai Zhishan would turn against him. He smiled coldly and pointed at Xiao Ben. You Xiao family are just trying to redeem yourselves. To put it bluntly, if I wanted to kill you, it would only take a few minutes. If House Pai wants to make money, we can easily support a puppet house. If we cooperate with House Kong, I'm sure they'll be willing, right? In reality, Pai Zhishan was just scaring Xiao Ben and Xiao Ji. House Pai wouldn't dare to cooperate with others. After all, the Hidden House Treaty wasn't a joke. Although the witness was gone, the Hidden House Council still existed. There was a reason for House Pai to cooperate with Xiao family. Even if the Hidden House Council came looking for them, House Pai wouldn't be afraid. They had an excuse to explain themselves. But if they supported a puppet house, it would be a different story. But Xiao Ben and Xiao Ji didn't know about these things. They knew that hidden houses couldn't earn money from the common world directly, but if they could borrow someone else's hand, it wouldn't be a problem. Wasn't that what House Yu did? So Xiao Ben didn't know that House Pai wanted to cooperate with Xiao family no matter what. He thought that it was just a feeling. And so, Xiao Ben was a little scared. He realized that they were cooperating with Xiao family because they respected Xiao family. Otherwise, they could just find someone else to cooperate with, and Xiao family would be nothing. Thinking up to here, Xiao Ben's face immediately revealed an awkward expression as he said with some embarrassment, Young Master Pai, please calm down. I was just casually saying, 10% is 10%. Xiao Ben calculated in his heart. If they really got House Pai's support, then they'd be rolling in money. 10% wasn't a small amount. It'd be better than the current situation, right? Plus, with House Pai's help, Xiao family's status would rise. Xiao family would become like House Yu in the common world. When that happens, what's the point of having so much money? Buying flowers was enough. As long as they kept their relationship with House Pai, Xiao family's prosperity was guaranteed. And at least you know what's good for you. Pai Zhishan said faintly. Actually, the bottom line Grandpa gave me was 10%. Originally, we didn't want to give you even 10%, just a fixed salary for Xiao family. But as the saying goes, if you want a horse to run, you have to feed it. So, I told you the bottom line and saved you the bargaining process. Thank you, young Master Pai. Xiao Ben's heart skipped a beat. Thank God he didn't insist. If House Pai got angry, the consequences would be dire. No need for thanks, it's just a win-win situation. Pai Zhishan was amused. House Pai's bottom line was 30%, the same as House Yu, but Pai Zhishan went all the way to 10%. It was because of House Zhao's current situation that he felt this way. Xiao family really had nowhere else to go. To be able to get House Pai's help was a great thing. As for the division of profits, that was secondary. If their business was as big as House Yu's, then 10% wouldn't be less than Xiao family's entire income at its peak. Then the masters from House Pai. Xiao Ben remembered the crux of the matter. If the masters from House Pai weren't there, then everything was just empty talk. Chapter 1103. Some proud, some worried, mystic late phase peak? Xiao Ben was startled. That strong? Wasn't that much stronger than Uncle Pai? Plus, with the hidden House Pai, who wouldn't give face to the Xiao family? Especially after hearing Pai Zhishan say that he was already an Earth-class master. Xiao Ben's heart skipped a beat. It was fortunate that he didn't mess with this young master of House Pai. Otherwise, the Xiao family would have died a horrible death. Pai Zhishan was already an Earth-class master at such a young age. This hidden house was too overpowered. But luckily, the two houses had reached an agreement. The stronger House Pai was, the higher the status of the Xiao family would rise. Of course, our House Pai masters are only here to watch and supervise. If you want to order them around like Uncle Pai, that's impossible. Pai Zhishan warned Xiao Ben. The hidden house pie masters wouldn't be ordered around by the Xiao family. I understand. Xiao Ben quickly nodded. In fact, he didn't even think about ordering the pie masters to do anything. He didn't dare to either. He only smiled, but if someone comes looking for trouble with the Xiao family, don't worry about that. If someone comes looking for trouble with the Xiao family, our house pie masters will take care of it. Pai Zhishan waved his hand. What I'm talking about is using them like servants. But when the Xiao family is in trouble, they won't just sit and watch. After all, we're working together. That's good. Xiao Ben heard Pai Zhishan's promise and was overjoyed. This was the result he wanted. As long as the Xiao family was in trouble, the pie masters would be able to help. As for ordering them around like servants, that was impossible. The Xiao family would be more than happy to provide for them. If that's the case, then I won't say anything else. Pai Zhishan said faintly, I'll leave everything to you. I'll get the masters in place in the next 2 days. Now, I have to report to my grandfather. Young Master Pai, please wait a moment. Xiao Ben stopped Pai Zhishan. About the business, are we free to do what we want, or is there a specific project? It doesn't matter, as long as we can make money, Pai Zhishan said nonchalantly. Then can I tell the public that House Pai is supporting our Xiao family? Xiao Ben nodded and asked. This information was crucial. If House Pai wanted to keep it a secret, then House Pai's support would be a lot weaker. Passively letting people know and actively spreading the news had a completely different effect. If they spread the news that the hidden House Pai was behind House Xiao, then people who knew about it would actively seek out House Xiao to cooperate with them and provide convenience for them. It wouldn't be House Xiao who actively sought out others to cooperate with them, and even hinted at their relationship with the hidden House Pai. Of course, whether or not people would believe it was still unknown. Of course. Pai Zhishan smiled and nodded. House Pai naturally agreed to this request from the Xiao family. House Pai's actions couldn't be hidden from the hidden Noble House Association, so instead of hiding it, they might as well do it openly. There was a reason for this anyway. No one would say anything. That's great. This way, we can avoid a lot of trouble. Xiao Ben nodded happily. At this moment, he could already see the bright future of the Xiao family. Thinking about the upcoming meeting of the noble houses, Xiao Ben smiled happily. This time, not only would the Xiao family not be pushed out of the noble house rankings, but they'd even go one step higher. Whoever went against the Xiao family would be going against House Yu. Pai Zhishan and Pai Zhihai were only here to negotiate. Pai Zhishan was the first successor of the hidden House Pai, and naturally, he couldn't stay with the Xiao family for long. Pai Zhihai, on the other hand, was only here to gain experience. Pai Zhihai was a martial arts fanatic and didn't have any schemes. But the more he was like this, the happier Pai Zhishan was. He had a brother who only wanted to increase his strength, and no one was competing for the position of the head of the house. He could even increase the strength of the house, so why not? After Pai Zhishan and Pai Zhihai left, Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben started laughing. There was hope for the Xiao family. All the troubles from before disappeared at this moment, and the Pai people didn't even look at Uncle Pai, who was in the hospital. One could imagine that they didn't have any feelings for Uncle Pai. With this, the Xiao family brothers let out a sigh of relief. Xiao Ben was afraid that House Pai still held a grudge against Uncle Pai, and was afraid that they would drag the Xiao family down with them. But now, it seemed like there was no need to worry anymore. Still, Xiao Ben wasn't willing to let it go. He wanted to find Lin Yi for revenge, and the first thing he wanted to do after House Pai came was to bring people to Pengzhan to force him to pay the debt. But now, it seemed like House Pai didn't care about Uncle Pai at all, and the chances of them getting revenge for Uncle Pai was very low. But no matter what, the Xiao family's rise was inevitable. Xiao Ben turned to Xiao Ji. Brother, you can use your position as the head of the Xiao family to spread the word that we, the Xiao family, have received the support of the hidden House Pai, and are starting to recruit business partners. All right, I'll take care of it. Xiao Ji patted his chest and agreed. He loved to brag the most. Moreover, this time, it wasn't just bragging. It was a fact. The news of the Xiao family receiving the support of the hidden House Pai spread like wildfire under Xiao Ji's purposeful spread, and soon, all the noble houses received the news. But among these noble houses, there were happy ones, and there were depressed ones, and there were also those who didn't care. The happiest was House Wu. Wu Gonggao felt that his grandson, Wu Chintian, had a good relationship with Xiao Wangdao and Xiao Wangba, and now that the Xiao family was in power, House Wu would also get some benefits in the future. But there were fewer happy ones and more depressed ones. The most depressed ones were House Lu and House Qin. House Lu and House Qin were both weaker noble houses, and with the Xiao family at the bottom, they felt threatened, but they still had a chance to breathe. But now, the Xiao family suddenly became strong, and became a noble house on par with House Yu. Didn't that mean that House Lu and Qin were at the bottom? Chapter 1104. Chapter 1102. House Qinzhenhu listened to Lu Tiany's report and took a deep breath, frowning. He didn't speak for a long time. Originally, Zhenhu thought that after Lin Yi's treatment, he could live another 10 years. With his old face, House Lu could hold on for a while longer. As long as he didn't die, House Lu would still have hope. As long as they managed it well, with a reasonable marriage with an ancient martial arts house, House Lu would continue to prosper. Zhenhu's plan was to use Lu Jinghan and another young master of a martial arts house's child as the next head of the house, in exchange for the Lu surname. This way, the child would be able to learn the martial arts of a martial arts house, and when the child grew up, House Lu would become a martial arts house as well. But before this idea could be realized, a problem arose. House Lu had already received the news of the upcoming noble house meeting. House Yu was planning to remove one noble house and make a new one. This would not only ensure House Yu's position in the noble house meeting, but it would also benefit House Yu when they became a new noble house. Before, everyone thought that the new noble house would be Xiao family, but now, it seemed that this new noble house would be House Lu. House Qin had at least one practitioner, Qin Yutin. His level was a bit low, but he was still a practitioner. House Lu, on the other hand, had none. Tianli, what do you think? How can House Lu maintain our current position in the upcoming noble house meeting? Zhenhu raised his head and looked at his two sons. Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli fell into deep thought. In fact, they had been thinking about this problem ever since they got the news that Xiao family was supported by the hidden house Pai. It was just that they didn't have any good ideas. Tianyi, why don't you go first? Zhenhu said. I'm thinking, is it possible to ask for House Wu's help? Lu Tiany's wife was the daughter of Wu Gonggao, the head of House Wu, and Wu Gonggao had just broken through to the middle phase of the mystic class. If he was willing to help, there should be a chance. What about Tianli? What do you think? Zhenhu didn't comment on Lu Tiany's idea and asked Tianli instead. Big brother is right. Sister-in-law is a member of the Wu family, so it's only right for us to seek help from the Wu family. Other than that, I think we should build a good relationship with the Xiao family. The Xiao family needs business partners right now, and we can totally volunteer to do business with the Xiao family, Tianli said after some thought. Jing, why don't you tell us what you think? Zhenhu turned his attention to his granddaughter, Lu Jinghan. Lin. Lu Jinghan pondered for a moment and only said 2 words. Lin. Tianli paused after hearing his daughter's words. Jing, why are you bringing up Lin Yi at a time like this? He's not from a noble house, and even if he was, he's a mortal enemy of House Yu. We've publicly supported Lin Yi, and that's already making House Yu uncomfortable. If we get involved with Lin Yi now, then House Yu will hate us even more. Wouldn't House Lu be the first to be kicked out of the list of noble houses? Jing, be more specific? Zhenhu waved his hand, signaling Lu Tianyi to calm down. He then nodded to Lu Jinghan, allowing her to continue. Dad, both you and Uncle are right, but have you thought about it? Since it's inevitable to get rid of a noble house, even if House Wu and the Xiao family speak up for us, what's the use? If they don't get rid of us, are they supposed to get rid of them? Lu Jinghan said calmly, House Xiao may have gotten House Pai's help, but they've just become a first-rate noble house from a fallen noble house. Under these circumstances, they'll probably choose to protect themselves and not interfere with House Yu's decision. If they want to gain a foothold, then that'll be in the next noble house meeting. Even so, it shouldn't be a problem for the Xiao family to put in a good word, right? And what about House Wu? As long as House Wu speaks up for us, then House Qin should be the one getting rid of. right? Tianli felt that his daughter's words made sense, but House Wu was an old noble house, and Wu Gonggao had always been a strong-willed person. If he were to speak up, then there shouldn't be a problem. Even if House Wu speaks up for us, who should we get rid of? From what I know, House Wu is trying to get House Kong into the list of noble houses this time, right? And House Xiao and House Kong seem to have a marriage relationship, right? Even if they were to speak up, it'd be for House Kong, wouldn't it? They can't wait for House Lu to get rid of, right? Lu Jinghan said calmly. Until now, the news of House Xiao and House Kong canceling the marriage had yet to spread. House Xiao was too embarrassed to say it, and House Kong didn't have the time to say it. House Kong was busy thinking about how to compete with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. But, if they were to suggest getting rid of House Chen, wouldn't that protect House Lu's position? Tianli asked. Dad, even if that's the case, will House Yu listen to them? Don't forget, the Chen family has a marriage contract. Lu Jinghan reminded. Yes, if it weren't for Lu Jinghan's reminder, Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli would have forgotten that House Chen still had an engagement. Many people knew about this back then, and it caused quite a stir. But as time went on, there was no more movement from that side, and House Chen didn't mention it anymore, so the engagement was forgotten by many. Now, many people had forgotten about it. If it weren't for Lu Jinghan bringing it up today, Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli would have forgotten about it already. Jing, there's no movement from House Chen's engagement, it's probably off by now, right? Lu Tianli frowned and asked after some hesitation. Whether it's off or not, only House Chen knows. Old Chen can sit on the fishing platform without showing anything strange, that's enough to say something. Lu Jinghan analyzed carefully. In fact, Old Chen wasn't too sure himself. There was no news from that side ever since the engagement, and they didn't send anyone to contact them for so many years. Although there was still some time before the agreed time, they couldn't just not send any news, could they? His granddaughter wasn't a practitioner, so did they give up on the marriage? Chapter 1105. A risky move. One had to know how powerful that sect was. Why would they be interested in a girl from a normal noble house? Plus, his granddaughter was still in her infancy, and he couldn't see any talent or potential in her at all. Their actions were a little strange. However, no matter what, it was a good thing. No matter what the other party's motive was, Old Man Chen naturally agreed to this matter. In the following period of time, the Chen family had indeed established a very stable position in the aristocratic family because of this marriage alliance. But it had been so many years, and they never contacted him again, not even through letters. This made Old Chen a little disappointed. Did they regret it? But whether or not they regretted it, Old Chen didn't dare go and question them. After all, the difference between a noble house and an ancient sect wasn't just a little bit, it was like the difference between an ant and an elephant. Although he was a little nervous, Old Chen still looked like he had everything under control. Whether or not the ancient sects were in contact with House Chen, only Old Chen himself knew. Others didn't see it, but that didn't mean it didn't happen. As long as Old Chen didn't reveal any flaws, others would have to believe it. Jing's right, the Chen marriage, you guys were still young back then, but us older people all know about it. Why didn't the head of House Yu touch House Chen all these years? It's also because of this. Jinhu spoke up. House Yu suspects this as well, but the marriage was real, so we'd rather believe it. If they really did offend the ancient sects, not just House Yu, but even the hidden House Yu behind them wouldn't be a match for the ancient sects. Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli nodded, sighing helplessly. It seemed that House Lu's title as a noble house was already set in stone. Damn it, if it weren't for House Song's Lingshan breaking through to Golden Class late phase peak, House Song would have been one of the targets this time as well. But she broke through and even got married to House Yu. Tianli stomped his feet, not satisfied. Jing, what do you mean by Linny? Lu Tianyi was a bit more mature than Tianli. He knew that his previous ideas weren't going to work, so he turned his attention to his niece. Uncle, Dad, it's actually very simple. Lu Jinghan smiled faintly and asked, we should find the reason from the root of the matter. Why did the Kong family become an aristocratic family? Isn't it because of the Wu and Xiao family's support? Tianli said. Dad, the support from House Xiao and House Wu is just a facade. If House Kong doesn't have the capital and power to become a noble house, then even House Yu wouldn't be able to make the decision to let them become a noble house, right? Lu Jinghan shook her head and said, what the Kong family relies on is nothing more than some Jinshuang medicine, the special edition of Jinshuang medicine, skin-beautifying Jinshuang medicine, and other magical medicines. But Lin Yi has all of these. He even has the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing that's even more powerful than them. I'm thinking that if we can work with Lin Yi and let our House Lu become Lin Yi's sole distributor, then we'll be able to control the sales of these magical medicines. If they want to buy the medicine, they'll have to go through us. That way, our position will naturally rise. You're right, but we're willing to become Lin Yi's distributor, but Lin Yi might not be willing, right? Whoever becomes the distributor gets rich. House Yu wanted to do it too, but they were rejected. Tianli said, troubled. Dad, there are two sides to everything. A distributor can make money, but it can also make no money. We, House Lu, can be a distributor that doesn't make money. We'll hand over all the profits we get from the distributor, and we'll bear the operating costs ourselves. Lu Jinghan said. Plus, we won't make any decisions on the distributor, we'll let Lin Yi make all the decisions. A strange light flashed in Lu Tianyi's eyes. He didn't think that his niece would come up with such an idea. This way, House Lu would be a free laborer and they wouldn't get any power or profits. Instead, they'd have to sacrifice a lot of money and manpower. On the surface, it looked like House Lu was losing a lot, but in reality, it was a name that they'd earned. They'd also built a good relationship with Lin Yi, and if House Lu had any problems in the future, they'd be able to find Lin Yi. Jinhu nodded approving. His granddaughter's ideas were always so unexpected. Positioning the entire House Lu as Lin Yi's follower was a bit bold, but if they succeeded, the results would be unimaginable. Jinhu had long since noticed that Lin Yi wasn't a normal person, and now that he'd caused 1 death and 2 injuries in House Yu and Xiao family, it only showed how powerful Lin Yi was. House Lu, on the other hand, was looking for a breakthrough and change. If they were to be Lin Yi's follower, it wouldn't be a good way out. It might seem like lowering their status, but in front of the hidden House Yu, weren't House Yu still the follower? Besides, wasn't the Xiao family the hidden House Pai's follower as well? And so, the follower's prestige depended entirely on the boss's strength. If Lin Yi was someone who didn't even put the hidden houses in his eyes, then House Lu would be a noble house that was above House Yu and Xiao family. Of course, this was all based on guessing and gambling. No one knew if Lin Yi had a bigger power backing him, and no one knew if Lin Yi would be able to go further in the future. Tianli understood his daughter's words as well, but he fell into deep thought. After a while, he spoke, Jing, that Lin Yi looks strong, but he's still House Yu's enemy. Us House Lu willingly lowering our status means that we're walking into House Yu's territory. If Lin Yi can take care of House Yu, then that's fine, but what if he can't? I heard that his enemy, Jin Wudi, in order to avenge his disciple Ma Zhu, he's already applied to the Hidden House Council to get revenge on Lin. He's an Earth class. He's invincible. I'm afraid that before we can even celebrate, Lin Yi will be killed by Jin Wudi. Chapter 1106. House Kong panicked as well, a joint attack. Lu Jinghan smiled. House Yu and Xiao family may hate Lin Yi, but the other noble houses may not be willing to go against Lin Yi with House Yu and Xiao family. Lin Yi's power is far greater than House Yu and Xiao families. Going against Lin Yi, House Yu and Xiao family may not be able to protect them. Plus, House Yu and Xiao family themselves can't do anything to Lin Yi right now. Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli fell into deep thought. They had to admit that Lu Jing'an's words made them think. This was an opportunity for House Lu, and if they went well, House Lu's position might even surpass the noble houses in the future. It all depended on how far Lin Yi could go. But, if Lin Yi was killed by the enemy before reaching that step, then House Lu would be wiped out along with him, and House Lu's foundation would be destroyed in an instant. It could be said that opportunity and danger existed side by side. If House Lu had no other way out, then Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli wouldn't mind giving it a shot. But now, the two of them couldn't make up their minds. Dad, you mean? Lu Tianyi raised his head and looked at Jinhu. What Jingjing said makes sense. But then again, I can't make the final decision until I reach that point. Jinhu was a wise old man, but this matter was too important. He couldn't make a decision right now. Pay close attention to the noble house meeting as well as Lin Yi's recent movements. We'll have to take it one step at a time. Yes, father. Lu Tianyi nodded. The current method was the safest. Lu Jinghan didn't say anything else. She was leaning towards working with Lin Yi, but that was just wishful thinking. Lin Yi might not work with House Lu. House Lu wanted to be his underling, but did Lin Yi want this underling? If Lin Yi had enough support and strength, then House Lu would be useless. If Lin Yi didn't have the strength, then there was no point in House Lu acknowledging him as their boss. This was the first time Lu Jinghan had such a headache. With Xiao family at the bottom, she wasn't too worried about House Lu's future, but now she had to. House Kong, on the other hand, got the news of Xiao family as well. The hidden House Pai had actually become House Xiao's backer. This way, House Xiao went from a bottom house to a super house that was on par with House Yu. They weren't as strong as House Yu yet, but they had the support of the hidden House Pai, so it wasn't a problem for them to grow stronger. Kong Guifeng, you piece of trash. Didn't you say that Xiao family was a stray dog with no value anymore? You told us to stay away from them, but look at what you've done. Isn't this great? Now that Xiao family has become a super house, second only to House Yu, and they have the hidden house backing them, you've rejected the marriage. Dr. Kong was furious when he heard that Xiao family had the support of House Pai. He called Kong Guifeng, Kong Teipu, Kong Xiaolong, and Kong Mingming together and scolded them. Father, at that time, Xiao family was at their weakest, but who would have thought that the hidden House Pai didn't hold them responsible for hurting Uncle Pai, and even help them? Kong Guifeng was troubled as well. Who knew that things would turn out this way? If he'd known, he wouldn't have rejected the marriage. He would have wanted his son to marry Xin Yan. But now, it was too late to say anything. There was no medicine for regret in this world. You're trash, a huge piece of trash. Miracle Dr. Kong slammed the tea table, gritting his teeth. Kong Guifeng didn't dare say anything. He lowered his head and didn't say anything. It was useless to say anything now. A mistake was a mistake. One wrong step and everything else would be wrong. Tell me, number 2. Miracle Dr. Kong turned to his second son, not even calling him by his name, calling him number 2. Father, I've said it before. A skinny camel is still bigger than a horse, and the Xiao family isn't completely useless. That's why I didn't agree to fight with the Xiao family, but now that things have turned out like this, what else can I do? There's nothing we can do. Kong Zuipu shrugged helplessly. He didn't think that his nonsense last time would turn out to be true. Miracle Dr. Kong recalled that Zuipu did say something like that before, but he didn't think much of it, thinking that it was just nonsense. Zuipu's words weren't without reason, after all. Good advice was a pain to the ears. His second son might be a spoiled brat, but he had a good eye for problems. Dr. Kong turned to Xiaolong and asked, Xiaolong, do you have any ideas? You agreed to break the marriage with the Xiao family when they're down. Do you have any ideas? Grandpa, I was wrong. Xiaolong was troubled as well. He never would have thought that the Xiao family would turn the tables, and it was a big one at that. What could he do now? He prayed in his heart that Dr. Kong wouldn't blame him. What's the use of being wrong? Miracle Dr. Kong humphed coldly as he looked at Xiaolong's silent face. He'd really misjudged them. Gifeng and Xiaolong, both of them dropping the ball at such a crucial moment. What the hell was this? Who told him to be in such a hurry to apologize? The most important thing now was to come up with a plan. Now that the Xiao family couldn't be removed from the noble house, wouldn't House Kong lose their chance? Plus, the Xiao family and House Kong were enemies now. Even if House Kong had the chance to become a noble house, the Xiao family might not put in a good word for them. You'd be lucky if they didn't ruin you. Dr. Kong felt powerless and turned to Kong Mingming. Xiaoming, what do you say? Grandpa, I told you last time that there's still a day when the Xiao family can make a comeback. The Xiao family may be down and out, but there's still a noble house. It's hard to say if there's a day when they can make a comeback. But none of you listened to me back then, even saying that I wanted to play with my sister-in-law. Kong Mingming looked at his brother Xiaolong, annoyed. If it wasn't for Xiaolong, he would have gotten the beauty back then, and House Kong wouldn't be in such a difficult situation right now. Chapter 1107. A Master from House Pai. Grandpa, I think that the first thing we need to do is to be on good terms with the Xiao family and try to mend our relationship. If we can, we should continue with the marriage. Kong Mingming said. That's true. Xiaoming is right, Kefeng. Did you hear that? You messed this up, and now you have to fix it. We need to find a way to get the Xiao family's forgiveness. Dr. Kong humphed as he spoke to Kong Gefeng. That's... Kong Gefeng was speechless. Wasn't this a little too difficult? They'd already offended the Xiao family. Was it even possible to mend their relationship? Plus, the Xiao family already had the support of House Pai. What was the point of having a marriage with House Kong? Who doesn't know how to say that? Of course we need to mend our relationship, but with the current situation, is it even possible? Xiaolong was unhappy that Kong Mingming stole his limelight. This Kong Mingming was obviously here for Kong Guifeng and Xiaolong. Whether or not it can be mended is up to Uncle. I can't do anything about it. I didn't offend the Xiao family either, did I? Kong Mingming said sarcastically. You dash. Xiaolong was infuriated. He glared at Xiaolong, speechless. All right, Xiaoming, stop blaming others. Dr. Kong still treated Xiaolong better than Kong Mingming. Grandpa, I'm not blaming, but the first point can only be done by Uncle. As the saying goes, whoever started the trouble should untie it. I can't do anything about it. But this is just the first point. We can use other methods to mend our relationship with the Xiao family. For example, the Xiao family is looking for business partners, and isn't House Kong a good candidate? Kong Mingming waved his hand. We can take some losses when we're working with them, but repairing our relationship is more important. Actually, everyone knew what Kong Mingming was talking about. It was just that House Kong was confused and didn't think about it. Kong Mingming, on the other hand, had the intention to be in the limelight, so he was relatively calm. To Kong Xiaoming, this wasn't a loss at all. Whether or not House Kong became a noble house wouldn't affect his life. He was just a spoiled brat. His grandfather wouldn't let him inherit the family business, so he didn't have to worry too much about it. We still have to rely on the light at this point. Kong Kang's face lit up as well. Kong Ming Ming Kong 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 Ming 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 Kong Kong Ming Kong Kong Ming Kong Kong Ming Ming's words. We can xiao. Kong Guifeng's eyes lit up after listening to Kong Ming Ming's words. He had to admit that Kong Ming Ming was smart. Although this idea was ordinary, it was very practical. Otherwise, why would they want to mend their relationship with the Xiao family? You're the one who said the marriage, and you're the one who said no. Are you making fun of them? Of course, this is only one aspect. Although the idea is out, whether it can succeed or not depends on Uncle's operation. Kong Ming Ming Kong Kong Ming was a schemer, but even so, he might not get the forgiveness of the Xiao family, but Kong Ming Ming pushed the blame onto Kong Guifeng. If things didn't work out, it would be Kong Guifeng's fault, not Kong Ming Ming's idea. Kong Guifeng's face changed and he wanted to explain, but before he could, Kong Ming continued. On the other hand, if we want to become a noble house, we have to rely on ourselves. In other words, we have to rely on me. As long as I can get the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, then the Xiao family's support won't matter anymore. We have the pill, we have the strength, we don't have to be afraid that House Yu won't agree to let us become a noble house. Xiaoming, you really are the fortune of House Kong. Dr. Kong heard Kong Mingming's words and stood up excitedly, patting Kong Mingming's shoulder. Good grandson, you're still the calmest at this crucial moment. I've misjudged you before, thinking you were a spoiled brat, but you're actually a wise man. You're flattering me, grandfather. Kong Mingming said humbly. In fact, it was normal for him to say all this, and it was also part of House Kang's development plan. It was just that saying it now had a different meaning. House Kong will rely on you in the future. I hope that House Kong will be able to take another step forward in your hands and walk towards glory. Dr. Kong said solemnly. I understand, grandfather. Don't worry, I won't let you down. Kong Ming was overjoyed. His grandfather had finally changed his mind and was raising him as the third-generation head of the house. Dr. Kang's words, however, made Kong Guifeng and Xiaolong's faces change. It seemed that they had made a huge mistake this time, and they disappointed Dr. Kong. But there was no point in saying anything else. Kang Geifeng gritted his teeth. He had to rebuild his friendship with the Xiao family at all costs. Even if he had to sacrifice a little, it wouldn't hurt. If he couldn't do this, then Xiaolong's position would be in danger. With that in mind, Kang Geifeng didn't dare to delay. After the family meeting, he brought Xiaolong to Songshan to visit the Xiao family. A blue SUV was driving on the highway. Xiaolong was driving, and Kang Geifeng was sitting in the passenger seat. Xiaolong, this is a very serious matter. If we don't handle it well, our position in House Kang will plummet. Kang Geifeng sighed, his eyes serious. Father, I don't think we did anything wrong. Back then, everyone thought that the Xiao family wouldn't be able to make a comeback, but who would have thought that something like this would happen? Xiaolong said. Zhao Ming, on the other hand, had his own selfish motives. Only Grandpa didn't know what he was thinking, but who would have thought that he'd hit the nail on the head? You don't have to say that. The winner is king, and the loser is a thief. Let's think of a way to salvage the situation. Kang Geifeng waved his hand. It didn't matter whether Xiaolong hit the nail on the head or not. There was no point in discussing it. Yeah, I don't know if the Xiao family will forgive us. Xiaolong nodded. The car stopped in front of the Xiao family's villa, but the Xiao family was no longer the same as before. Normal people wouldn't be able to get in. The masters from House Pai came quickly. The night Pai Zhishan and Pai Zhihai returned, the masters from House Pai came. Master Pai, Brother Pai, are you satisfied with the room? Xiao Ji respectfully showed the two masters the room. This was the third floor of the Xiao family's villa, and no one had lived here before. Chapter 1108. What was said? All right, it's fine as long as the bedroom is livable. The one speaking was one of the older masters from House Pai, who was called Master Pai. He waved his hand. Just make the training room downstairs better. Don't worry, Master Pai, it's all ready. Just tell us what you need and we'll buy it for you. Xiao Ji said quickly. At that moment, the doorbell of the Xiao family's villa rang. Big brother, go see who's coming, I'll stay here with the two masters. Xiao Ben gave Xiao Ji a look. Xiao Ji also knew his own weight. He was afraid that his uncouth character would say something inappropriate, so he was happy to leave Xiao Ben here. He went to see who had come to visit the Xiao family. That afternoon, after the news got out, there were a lot of rich houses calling to say that they wanted to work with the Xiao family. It wasn't a surprise that someone was visiting. Xiao Ji arrogantly went downstairs. He opened the door of the villa and looked outside, but he was slightly stunned. What he didn't expect was that it was Kang Geifeng and Kang Xiaolong, father and son, standing outside. Xiao Ji may be an uncouth man, but he wasn't an idiot. He knew what House Kang's intentions were, of course. Thinking back to the humiliation he'd suffered outside House Kang's villa, Xiao Ji's anger flared. Fine, I haven't even gone looking for you yet, and you've come knocking on my door. If I don't make fun of you this time, I'll be sorry for your hospitality last time. Isn't this the Kang father and son? What business do you have with the Xiao family? Kang Geifeng and Xiao Ji's words were still fresh in his mind, so this time, Xiao Ji returned the same words back to them. Kang Geifeng and Xiaolong's hearts skipped a beat as they listened to Xiao Ji's words. It seemed like things were going to be as they'd expected. Xiao bro, what are you saying? Aren't we related by marriage? What's wrong with that? Kang Geifeng said with a smile. Related by marriage? Who is related to you by marriage? When did our families become in-laws? Kang Geifeng, do you have a bad memory? Did you remember wrongly? Xiao Ji laughed coldly in his heart. Now you know that we are in-laws? What were you doing earlier? Don't you have a bad memory? All right then, you can continue on your way. Big brother Xiao, don't be angry. My memory is indeed a little bad. The last time you came to my house, I was muddle-headed and didn't remember. When I went back and told Xiaolong about it, I finally remembered that our families are actually in-laws. Kang Geifeng said awkwardly. Fortunately, the reason he said before was that he had a bad memory. Now, he could use this reason as an excuse. Kang Geifeng, I really don't know what nonsense you are talking about here. Xiao Ji laughed coldly and said, there are too many people who want to be connected to the Xiao family. Who knows if it's true or not? What's more, you're talking about a marriage alliance. Who are you going to marry? How come I don't know? You've been talking for so long and you still haven't made yourself clear. Our Xiao family is all male, and you're trying to get married. I may be called Xiao Ji, but I'm not gay. Kong Greifeng was speechless. Xiao Ji's words were a little vulgar, but the logic was clear. He didn't know them, so leave. Alright, stop it. If you have proof of our engagement, then take it out. If not, then get the fuck out. I don't have time for you. 2 masters came to my house, and one of them is a mystic late phase peak. Don't blame me if you come here to cause trouble again. Xiao Ji threatened impatiently. With that, Xiao Ji ignored Kong Greifeng and Zhao Long and went back into the villa. He slammed the door shut, leaving the Kangs outside. Kong Greifeng looked at the Xiao family's door and sighed heavily. He shook his head. It seems like it's hopeless. They don't want to talk to us at all. Father, why don't we try again? After all, we've decided to make some sacrifices and tell them the conditions. Maybe Xiao family will change their mind? Zhao Long didn't want to give up. Didn't you hear what Xiao Ji said? There are 2 masters in their house, and one of them is a mystic late phase peak. Among all the noble houses, only House Yu has masters like that. If Xiao family has such strength, why would they need us to work with them? There are a lot of people who want to work with them, and we're not in the queue. Kong Greifeng smiled bitterly. They've made it clear that they don't care about us. Xiao family isn't what it used to be, and we're of no use anymore. But I don't want to give up just like this. Zhao Long clenched his fist. So what? If Xiao family wanted to accept us, they wouldn't be treating us like this. There's no point in saying anything now. Let's go back. Kong Greifeng was quite open-minded. In fact, he didn't want to stand here and be humiliated anymore. Zhao Long nodded and got in the car with his father, leaving with his tail between his legs. Zhao Long didn't want to give up just like this, but what else could he do? They wouldn't give him a chance. After Xiao Ji ran back to the villa, he conveyed everything that happened to his second brother, Xiao Ben. After Xiao Ben heard it, he felt that it was a pity. We can make the Kong family bleed a lot and give us some compensation. After all, we are short of funds now. Second brother, now that we have 2 masters from House Pai in our Xiao family, we don't have to worry about funds. When the time comes, there will be many people who want to cooperate with us. Why should we mix with the Kong family, the treacherous people? Xiao Ji said disapprovingly, I've said it before, they're blind. Even if they came to lick my toes, I wouldn't leave them alone. That's right, at least we got our revenge. You're right, with our Xiao family's current strength, we don't have to worry about partners. Xiao Ben nodded and put the matter to the back of his mind. The news of the Xiao family naturally reached Lin Yi's ears. Lin Yi didn't pay attention to the noble houses, but Faubert was well informed in Songshan. The hidden House Pai supporting the Xiao family wasn't good news for House Chu. Chapter 1109. Guden is here. House Xiao has the support of the hidden House Pai. Do you know about this? When Faubert called, Lin Yi had just sent Xiao Xiao and Tang Yun home and was driving back to the villa. Hidden House Pai? Lin Yi paused. Is it the same as the hidden House Yu and House Zhao? Lin Yi didn't know much about the structure of the hidden houses. Yes, the hidden House Pai is stronger than the hidden House Zhao. I heard that the Pai Elder is an Earth-class late-phase peak, just 1 step away from Sky-class, but it's just a rumor. After all, there's no proof. Plus, House Pai is a physical practitioner, so there's still a gap between them and spiritual practitioners. Faubert summarized what he knew to Lin Yi. The Pai Elder is just 1 step away from Sky-class? Lin Yi frowned. He didn't expect the hidden House Pai to be this strong. One had to know that it was extremely hard to improve once a physical practitioner reached the late phase. Physical practitioners were different from spiritual practitioners. Spiritual practitioners relied on qi and treasures to increase their strength, but physical practitioners relied on constant training of the body to increase their strength. In other words, spiritual practitioners could train by themselves, but once a physical practitioner reached a certain level, they would need someone to train with them in order to increase their strength and find an opportunity to break through. To put it bluntly, physical practitioners were similar to boxing and sanda. If you wanted to improve, you needed a sparring partner, and you couldn't do it by yourself. The old man from House Pi was only one step away from Sky Class. In other words, other than the old man from House Pi, there should be another person who was as strong as him training with him. This meant that House Pi's power couldn't be underestimated. Yes, but from the looks of it, House Pi and Xiao family are just partners. Xiao family won't use House Pi to take revenge on us yet. Faubert said. Right? How strong are the practitioners House Pi sent to Xiao family? Linist. One is Mystic Late Phase Peak and one is Mystic Early Phase, both physical practitioners, Faubert said. Mystic Early Phase isn't a problem, but Mystic Late Phase Peak. This is a bit troublesome. Lin Yi's eyebrows locked together. He was a Mystic Mid-Phase spiritual practitioner, and he had some confidence against Mystic Late Phase Peak or Mystic Late Phase physical practitioners. But if the opponent was Mystic Late Phase Peak, Lin Yi didn't have much confidence. Unless he used the energy bomb, the ultimate killing move, but it was a move that would kill 1,000 enemies and himself at the cost of 800. He wouldn't use it unless he had no other choice. After all, the consequences were too dangerous, and he had to think about it carefully. That's right. If only I could regain my strength at my peak. Faubert sighed and said helplessly, if I break through to Mystic now, even if it's early phase, I'd be able to help. With the two of us working together, we wouldn't be afraid of that Mystic Late Phase Peak. But right now, although I'm only one step away from Mystic, I'm still a level away. Lin Yi nodded after hearing Faubert's words. Indeed, although he could fight enemies stronger than him, Faubert couldn't. He benefited from the purity of the pure qi he absorbed, as well as his mental cultivation. It'd be great if he could let Faubert use the qi in the jade, but it wasn't easy. Energy was different from other things. Lin even wondered if he could store the energy in the bottle, but that wasn't practical. We'll deal with it when they come. I'm not afraid of them. Lin Yi didn't have much confidence, but to give Faubert confidence, he could only say that. I'll keep an eye on them. As long as they don't come looking for trouble, we'll let them be, Faubert replied. In actuality, Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben did want to cause trouble for House Chu and Lin Yi. They were drooling over House Chu's wealth. Their original plan was perfect. House Pi would definitely get revenge for Uncle Pi, and then they'd naturally go looking for trouble with House Chu. But now, it seemed like House Pi didn't care about Uncle Pi's life at all. Whether it was Pai Zhishan or Pai Zhihai, or the two masters that came later, none of them had any intention of visiting Uncle Pi in the hospital. So, although Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben had this idea, they didn't dare make any rash decisions. After all, Pai Zhishan had made it clear that the masters of House Pi would only help when the Xiao family was in trouble. They weren't the fighters of the Xiao family, so Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben didn't dare order them to do anything. Brother, why don't we discuss with Master Pai and Brother Pai, and go looking for trouble with House Chu? That would count as getting some money? Xiao Ji waited for the two masters from House Pi to settle down before going to the study with Xiao Ben to discuss the future of the Xiao family. We can't. The two masters from House Pi are different from Uncle Pi. Master Pi said very clearly that they'll only help when we're in trouble. We can't order them to do anything, can we? Chuban said. But we're asking for money from House Chu because we want to do business for House Pi. House Pi's benefits are closely related to us now. Xiaoji said. That's true, but we're not familiar with the two Pi masters yet. We don't know their temperament yet. Even if we were to make a move, we'd have to wait until we're familiar with them. At that time, things will be much easier. Chuban said. Right now, our Xiao family doesn't have to worry about money at all. Anyone who wants to work with us will provide us with money. That's right, it'll be easier once we're familiar with them. Xiao Ji nodded. You have good eyes, brother. This was the first time Gooden left his house. On the train, he remembered Grandpa Lin's words and didn't say a word, only doing his own thing. There were a few scammers on the train that had their eyes on Gooden, but seeing that he didn't care about anyone, they all gave up. There was nothing they could do. To them, a country bumpkin like Gooden was the hardest to deal with. He didn't talk, and he didn't sleep. There was no way they could take advantage of him. And so, Gooden was safe and sound on the way to Songshan's train station. Chapter 11:10. The orphanage is desperate, but if the event didn't end, Xiaoka wouldn't have a source of income. She had earned quite a bit of money a while ago, but no one had accepted the missions she posted on the website. Even if she wanted to earn extra money, there was no way she could do it. She could only sit on the bed and sigh at the sky. Xiaoke, why are you looking so sad? The kitchen's done cooking, why aren't you eating? The kids are waiting for you. The dean pushed open Xiaoke's door and walked in. Dean, I'm not hungry. You guys eat first. Xiaoke shook her head. As Xiaoke's source of income was cut off, the orphanage's days were getting worse and worse. Almost every meal was potato and cabbage, and the portions were getting smaller and smaller. The last few thousand of the orphanage's money was used to buy some potatoes and cabbage, as well as some rice and noodle. These things were easy to store, and they could get a lower price if they bought them in bulk. These were the leftover vegetables from last autumn, and since the new vegetables were coming soon, the sellers were selling them at a lower price. But while the vegetables were cheap, the rice and noodle were expensive. Xiaoke tried her best to eat vegetables and not rice, but she felt disgusted. She really didn't want to eat today. She could save some food. Xiaoke, look at how skinny you are. How can you not be hungry? If your body collapses, what will happen to the kids? How could the dean not know what Xiaoke was thinking? But wasn't she the same? Seeing the rice and noodle decreasing day by day, the dean was worried as well. But even if she was worried, she couldn't stop Xiaoke from eating. Okay, I'll go eat then. Xiaoke nodded. But the more they did this, the more trouble they had. There was a saying that misfortune never comes alone. The orphanage didn't have money, but they needed it when they didn't have it. Not long after the meal, a kid got acute appendicitis from playing soccer. Xiaoke and Ken quickly brought the kid to the hospital, but when they got there, Xiaoke suddenly remembered that she was out of money. In this period of time, the orphanage's savings had been used up, and Xiaoke didn't have a single cent in her hands. These days, the hospital wasn't a charity organization, and without money, they wouldn't be able to perform the surgery. Xiaoke knew this very well. Luckily, Xiaoke had some acquaintances in the hospital, such as Nurse Wang Sis. But knowing people didn't mean that she didn't need to spend money. What Xiaoke could do was ask Nurse Wang to do the surgery for the child, and then Xiaoke would go and collect the money. Even so, Xiaoke was very grateful. Seeing the sick child being pushed into the surgery room, Xiaoke finally let out a breath of relief. She turned to the nurse beside her. Nurse Wang, thank you so much. It's nothing. It's just a piece of cake. But Xiaoke, you still have to pay the medical fees as soon as possible. Otherwise, if the hospital leaders blame me, I can't afford it, said Nurse Wang. I know, Nurse Wang. I just left in a hurry and didn't bring any money with me. I'll go back and get the money now. Xiaoke didn't tell the nurse about her predicament. Nurse Wang was already helping her a lot, so why would she give her more trouble? Nurse Wang was just a normal nurse, and her monthly salary wasn't high. Xiaoke couldn't possibly ask her for money. Alright, I'll leave first. I still have things to do, and I'm the only one in the nurse's room. I can't leave for too long. Nurse Wang didn't think too much about it. She knew Xiaoke's occupation, and from her perspective, Xiaoke didn't lack money. Okay, then go back to your work. We'll be fine here. Xiaoke nodded. After Nurse Wang left, Xiaoke sighed and turned to Xiao Ken. Xiao Ken, you stay here. I'll go back to the orphanage to get some money. Xiaoke sis, you don't need to lie to me. I know that the orphanage doesn't have any money, right? Ken hesitated and looked at Xiaoke. Ken, you know about it? Xiaoke nodded slightly, not denying it. Ken was the oldest child in the orphanage, and his mind was mature. Naturally, he could tell that something was wrong with the orphanage. Yes, Xiaoke sis. Is there anything I can do to help? Ken raised his head and gathered his courage to ask. In his heart, he had always had a crush on Xiaoke, but he knew that he wasn't good enough for Xiaoke. However, the children in the orphanage treated Xiaoke as their goddess and idol since they were young, and that was understandable. Even if he knew it wasn't realistic, he still wanted to share some of Xiaoke's worries. It's okay. Stay here and look after the orphanage. I'll go get some money. Xiaoke waved her hand. In her eyes, Ken would always be a child. Ken nodded, a little disappointed. As expected, Xiaoke always treated him as a child. I'm here. Come back soon, Xiaoke sis. Ken nodded. Xiaoka ran out of the hospital quickly and saw the patrolling policeman on the street. She was in despair. It seemed like her plan to steal the wallet was going to fail. In actuality, Xiaoka didn't need to go to the streets to steal money. The hospital was the best place to do it. There were a lot of people with money there, but Xiaoka wasn't a bad thief. She had her own morals, and she couldn't bear to steal the money of the people in the hospital. Many of them were here to pay for their family and friends' medical fees. What would they do if she stole their money? This money might be the life-saving money for their family and friends. And so, Xiaoka left the hospital decisively and walked on the streets aimlessly. Unknowingly, Xiaoka followed the flow of people to the train station. This used to be Xiaoka's paradise. The train station used to be filled with scalpers, street vendors who dominated the market, and unscrupulous drivers who scammed tourists. These were all Xiaoka's targets. She didn't feel guilty at all when she stole their money. The money in their pockets was ill-gotten money, and she didn't feel guilty at all. Chapter 11:11. Medical expenses. Looking at the passers-by and the patrolling police gave Xiaoka a headache. She had to get some money for the medical expenses no matter what. She couldn't let Nurse Wang down. Xiaoka looked at the passers-by and could only force herself to look for a target. She only hoped that there were too many people here and that the police wouldn't have enough people to pay attention to her. Very quickly, she found a target, a young man who had just come out of the train station. The young man was quite tall, but at a glance, one could tell that he came from the mountains. He was dressed very rustic, wearing a blue sleeveless shirt and black shorts. He belonged to the kind of rustic that couldn't be more rustic. It was obvious that this was his first time in the city, and he didn't have much experience in society. It was easy to make a move on him. It wasn't that Xiaoka didn't think about stealing money from those fat bosses, but those people were more meticulous, and it wouldn't be easy to make a move on them in a place like this. It was easy to make a move on a country bumpkin like this. But Xiaoka had never stolen money from a good person before. This young man was easy to make a move on, but it didn't fit Xiaoka's principles. Xiaoka followed behind him, hesitating. She didn't know if she should make a move or not. No matter what, she had to pay the money today. Xiaoka had already troubled Nurse Wang a lot, and she couldn't give her any more trouble. If she didn't pay, the hospital's leaders would scold Nurse Wang, and that wasn't something Xiaoka wanted to see. But Xiaoka really couldn't bear to make a move on this young man. He looked like a simple and honest villager, and Xiaoka felt that stealing his money would make her feel guilty. Unknowingly, Xiaoka had been following him for a while now, and she still couldn't make a move. "Why are you following me?" Xiaoka didn't make a move yet, but the young man suddenly turned around and looked at her weirdly. Gooden was quite troubled. What was this pretty girl doing behind him? In fact, Gooden had noticed it when Xiaoka was following him, but she was a pretty girl, and he didn't think of her as a bad person. He didn't care, thinking that they were just going the same way. But after walking for a while, Gooden purposely changed his direction and realized that Xiaoka was still following him. He couldn't help but ask. Gooden was an honest guy, but he'd been with Lin Yi since he was young. He wasn't a normal person. In the mountains, even the beasts that were good at hiding their presence couldn't escape Gooden's senses, much less Xiaoka. Gooden's sudden question gave Xiaoka quite a fright. Xiaoka didn't think that Gooden would notice her, and she didn't know what to do. After all, Xiaoka had a guilty conscience and quickly waved her hand. "It's nothing. It's nothing." Gooden frowned as he looked at Xiaoka. "Girl, is there something you need from me? If you have something to say, just say it. Don't be wishy-washy like a sissy." "Ha!" Xiaoka couldn't help but laugh at Gooden's words. She was a girl, right? "What are you laughing at? What do you want from me for?" Gooden was even more confused at Yu Xiaoxiao's reaction. She didn't know why, but she felt that this guy wasn't a bad person, and so she changed her mind. She didn't want to steal his money. I want to borrow some money from you." Xiaoka put away her smile and said seriously. Xiaoka was sure that this guy wasn't a bad person, and she didn't want to steal anymore. She wanted to borrow money from him. She really wanted to pay him back. "Borrow money? What do you need money for?" Gooden asked. "I have a kid with acute appendicitis, and I don't have money for surgery, so I want to borrow some money." Xiaoka didn't lie. "Appendicitis? Surgery? That's a big deal." Gooden saw that Xiaoka didn't seem to be lying and he panicked. How much do you need? How much do you have? Xiaoka didn't think that Gooden would really lend her money. Gooden was a warm-hearted person, and even though old Lin told him that there were a lot of scammers out there, he felt that this girl didn't seem like one. She was very sincere, and it shouldn't be fake. And so, he really did want to help her. In Star West Village, it was normal for people to borrow money from each other when they needed it. Gooden often lent money to the villagers, and so he treated Xiaoka as one of them. I have around 1,900 here. Gooden bought some bread on the train, and other than that, he didn't spend much money. That's about enough. Xiaoka calculated that this should be enough for surgery. Gooden didn't say anything as he took out a handkerchief and gave it to Xiaoka. Here, you count it. No need, thank you, I'll return it to you as soon as possible. Xiaoka was overjoyed as she took the bag, smiling as she waved at Gooden. I'll be going then. Saving a life is more important. Gooden nodded. Seeing Xiaoka's shadow disappear from the train station square, Gooden suddenly remembered something important. Boss Lin Yi's address was still in the handkerchief, and the note Grandpa Lin gave him was with the money. Wait, Gooden panicked. This was the only way to find Lin Yi boss. How was he supposed to find Lin Yi boss without the address? But Xiaoka was nowhere to be seen. Xiaoka was long gone. Gooden slapped his forehead and helplessly sat down on a bench nearby. Now that he'd lost Lin Yi's contact, he could only sit here and wait for Xiaoka to return the money and give him the address. Xiaoka was a person who knew right from wrong. She was a thief, but she knew how to repay kindness. She knew that Gooden was a good person, and so she'd return the money as soon as possible. But when she got to the hospital, she suddenly remembered that she hadn't asked for Gooden's contact. She didn't even know his name. Chapter 11-12. Dine and dash? But no matter what, she was back at the hospital. She couldn't go back to the train station right now. She needed to pay the money first. Xiaoka queued up and paid the surgery fee, but found a note in the handkerchief. There was an address and a phone number on it. Xiaoka's eyes lit up. Xiaoka's eyes lit up. Xiaoka's eyes lit up. So he'd given her the address already. Xiaoka relaxed, not as worried as before. Now that she had enough money, she'd go to this address and pay him back. Xiaoka carefully put away the piece of paper with the address and went to find Xiao Ken with the receipt. Gooden was waiting for Xiaoka at the train station. He was worried that she wouldn't be able to find him after he left. The money wasn't a big deal, but the important thing was the address with Lin Yi boss address. And so, Gooden didn't dare leave. He just sat on the bench. Time flew, and the sky turned dark, and the sky turned dark again. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye, and Xiaoka still wasn't back. Only now did Gooden realize that he'd been tricked. This big liar girl, she pisses me off. Gooden said angrily as he looked at the train station. It had been so long, and Xiaoka still hadn't reappeared. No matter how honest he was, he knew that he'd been tricked. Gooden was troubled. Tricking money was one thing, but why didn't she give him back Lin Yi boss address? You'd be wasting my time if you just left like that. Lin Yi boss was still waiting for me to use my potions. Man. Gooden stood up and patted his butt, leaving helplessly. He needed to find a place to eat. He hadn't eaten for 2 days, and he was starving. Luckily, Gooden's body was rather sturdy. If it were someone else, they'd be starving to death already. He didn't get far before smelling the smell of fried chicken. He raised his head and saw the big sign next to him, with the words, "Burger Fried Chicken," written on it. Hamburgers were Western fast food, and he'd only seen it on TV before. He'd never tried it before, and Star West Village didn't have this type of food. He felt that it was fresh, and plus, he hadn't eaten for 2 days. Gooden walked quickly into the burger and chicken shop. There was only one waitress inside, and no one else was in the shop. It was already late, and it wasn't time to eat. It was normal to be empty. "Shopkeeper, what good food do you have?" Gooden was about to faint from hunger. He looked at the chicken in the fridge and started drooling. "I want this, and this, and this. And a hamburger." "All right, please wait a moment." Yuan nodded, her eyes lifeless as she took out all the food Gooden wanted. Once upon a time, she felt that her job was boring. But now, Yuan was reluctant to leave. She estimated that she would not be able to do this job for more than 2 days. Once she became Fighter Li's woman, she would not be able to show her face in public anymore. Therefore, Yuan cherished this rare working time. She probably wouldn't have such an opportunity in the future. Sir, 56 yuan in total. Yuan passed the tray to Gooden. Okay. Gooden was secretly surprised. The food in this city was really expensive. One meal was enough to feed his family for a few days. Gooden thought as he took out money from his clothes, but when he touched his empty pockets, he suddenly remembered that his money was tricked by that liar girl. Gooden's face turned a little awkward. He didn't have any money, coming here to eat? Wouldn't that be a free meal? What's wrong? Yuan saw the change in Gooden's face as well. I don't have money anymore. Gooden stuttered, embarrassed. My money was scammed, cheated. Yuan paused and looked at Gooden suspiciously, but judging from his clothes, he didn't seem like the type to cheat people out of eating and dashing. Fast food restaurants paid first, too, and dashing wasn't an option. At the train station, there was a girl who said she had a child with appendicitis, and she asked me to borrow money, so I gave her the 1,900 or so I had, and she said she'd pay me back, but I waited on the bench for 2 days, and she didn't come back. Gooden couldn't help but get a little angry. Man, I didn't eat for 2 days just to wait for her, and she just left. What? Yuan paused after hearing Gooden's story. This guy was a little too honest, wasn't he? He borrowed money from a stranger at the train station? Did he just believe whatever they said? Appendicitis? He was clearly a liar. But Yuan could tell from Gooden's clothes that he'd just come from the mountains. These people were all honest people, and it was normal for him to be scammed. Hearing that Gooden hadn't eaten for 2 days, Yuan felt sorry for him. Then this is my treat. Hurry up and eat, don't starve. They were about to go to Fighter Li's place, and Yuan knew that money was useless. Fighter Li didn't lack money, so she didn't mind doing something nice. Gooden was like his father, Yuan. They were both scammed, and Yuan felt that she should help him out. I can't accept that. Gooden scratched his scalp. He didn't expect Yuan to be treating him for free. The girl in front of him wasn't as pretty as that scammer, but in his eyes, she was still a beauty amongst beauties. She was much prettier than those village girls from West Star Village. Plus, Xiaoka's image in Gooden's mind was extremely bad, while this Yuan in front of him was extremely kind. They were both beauties who lived in the same city, so why was there such a huge difference between them? It's nothing, you're very kind, you just got scammed. Hurry up and eat, it'll get cold, Yuan said. Then I won't hold back. When I find that scammer girl and get the money, I'll pay you back. Gooden looked at the fried chicken and hamburger, his saliva almost dripping out. With that, Gooden happily took the tray and found a place to eat. Chapter 11:13. Why were you crying? Yuan felt like crying all of a sudden. If it weren't for Fighter Li and Scorpion, she would have died a long time ago. But now, she couldn't die even if she wanted to. Even her life wasn't her own anymore. At that thought, Yuan couldn't help but start sobbing. Gooden was having a great time eating when he heard a woman crying. He jumped up and looked up to see Yuan crying. Shop girl, what's wrong? Gooden quickly walked over. Yuan didn't say anything, only crying. Gooden's question touched her heart, and she cried even harder. Hey, girl, why don't you say something? What's wrong? Why are you crying all of a sudden? Gooden panicked when he saw that Yuan wasn't talking. Are you worried that I didn't pay for my meal? Don't worry, I'll pay you back for sure. Stop crying, you're making me uncomfortable. Yuan started crying even harder at Gooden's nonsense. Yuan was worried about his daughter, and thinking that he wouldn't have many chances to see her again, he decided to lock up his shop early and go to the burger shop. Yuan heard his daughter crying as soon as he stepped into the burger shop. He panicked and ran over. Yuan, what's wrong? Why are you crying? Did something happen? Dad. When Yuan saw her father, she threw herself into his arms and cried even harder. Yuan, don't cry, what's wrong? Yuan asked carefully as he hugged his daughter. Man, I just didn't bring money for my meal. You said you're treating me, why are you crying again? If you regret it, I won't eat anymore. Gooden really didn't know what to do. Yuren paused. So this guy was here to eat and dash? But it didn't sound like it. It seemed like his daughter was treating him. Go eat your food, it has nothing to do with you. Yuan quickly explained, afraid that her father would blame Gooden. Hey, it has nothing to do with me. Then why are you suddenly crying? She was fine just now, why'd she start crying all of a sudden? Gooden sighed, not understanding what was going on. Kid, since it's none of your business, go eat. Yuren could guess why his daughter was crying, and he knew that it had nothing to do with Gooden. He waved his hand and told him to go eat. I ate your food, but I didn't eat it for free. Did you run into some trouble? Tell me, I'll see if I can help you. Gooden looked at Yuan and guessed that she was in trouble. You can't help me. No one can help me. Yuan seemed to be talking to Gooden, but also to herself. Don't ask, why can't I help? Gooden felt a surge of pride in his heart as he looked at Yuan crying. Gooden was the type of person who would repay the kindness of others with a single drop of water. Yuan had treated him to a meal, and now that Yuan was clearly in trouble, he couldn't just stand by and watch. I got kidnapped to be a concubine, can you help me? Yuan didn't know what to do anymore, so she just said it out loud. This wasn't something to be proud of. She didn't want to say it, but Gooden kept asking, so she had no choice. Concubine? Gooden blinked. You got kidnapped to be a concubine? Who wants to kidnap you? Why would they want to kidnap you? Don't ask so many questions, it has nothing to do with you. Just leave after eating. Yuan saw that Gooden was an honest person, and she didn't want him to get involved in this. Tell me, what's going on? I don't believe that someone would kidnap you just because I'm sitting here. Gooden's temper flared up as he glared at her. Gooden had a good impression of Yuan, and he felt that she was a kind girl, treating him to a meal. She was much better than that scammer girl. So now that Yuan was in trouble, Gooden was a warm-hearted person. How could he just ignore it? It's fine, I'll tell you if you want to hear it. Yuan saw that Gooden was determined to get to the bottom of it, so she didn't insist. She'd been holding it in for the past 2 days, and having an outsider to talk to would make her feel better. In fact, Yuan didn't think that Gooden could do anything. He just entered the city, so how would he know how cruel the world was? And so Yuan told him about how Scorpion tricked her father into going to the arena, how he borrowed money, and how he forced her to be Fighter Li's concubine. Gooden was furious after hearing what happened to Yuan, glaring at Yuren. Who the hell is that Lil, Scorpion and Fighter Li? One's a street thug, one's a street fighter, and I thought they were powerful people, but they're just 2 pieces of trash and you want your daughter to pay off the debt? What kind of father are you? Are you a man or not? So what if I am? That Scorpion is from the underworld, and that Fighter Li is very powerful as well, breaking a steel door with 1 punch. What do you expect me to do? 1 word from him and my family will be destroyed. Yuren smiled bitterly. So you just accept your fate? You want your daughter to be his concubine? Gooden was pissed. What kind of father was this? What else can I do? Yuren shook his head helplessly. Kid, you don't understand. You're too honest, you don't know how powerful those people are. How powerful? How powerful can a street ruffian and a martial artist who performs martial arts be? Gooden said in disdain, these people only bully the weak and fear the strong. If I were you, I'd fight them to the death. But I'm no match for them. Hurry up and beat them to death. Yuren felt that Gooden was getting more and more unreasonable. He shook his head. Why are you talking about my dad like that? You just entered the city, how would you know how powerful they are? It's easy for you to say, but why don't you fight them to the death? Yuan was getting pissed. Her father wasn't a good person, but being scolded by an outsider like Gooden made her feel uncomfortable. Gooden had a point, but he didn't know how complicated things were, and how powerful those people were. Chapter 11:14. Gooden punches Fighter Li top. Here. Yuan got even angrier after hearing Gooden's words. You killed him with 1 punch? Aren't you afraid of losing your tongue? Yuan had a good impression of Gooden before. He was a simple and honest guy, and although he got tricked, at least he was a warm-hearted person. But even if you were warm-hearted, you shouldn't butt in when you couldn't do anything about it. Saying random things was just causing trouble. And so, in a fit of anger, she gave Fighter Li's name card to Gooden. On it was the address of the arena. Fighter Li had left this sign yesterday, and he came here because he was afraid that Yuan would run away. He wanted to see what she was doing, reminding her not to forget the promise. Gooden took the name card and didn't say anything. He stuffed the chicken drumstick into his mouth and left the burger shop. "Hey, where are you going?" Yuan jumped. Looking at Gooden, it seemed like he really was going to fight Fighter Li to the death. She panicked a little. She was just saying it out of anger, but she didn't think that Gooden would actually do something like that. If it were someone else, Yuan wouldn't think much about it. After all, a lot of people were just pretending to run away. Who knew what they were going to do? But Gooden was different. She could tell from the fact that he was kind enough to pay the medical fees that he was a warm-hearted person. Yuan was really worried that he'd go fight Fighter Li to the death. Yuan felt that she was already unlucky enough. If she dragged Gooden into this for no reason, then her conscience would be hurt. This wasn't something she wanted to see. So Yuan subconsciously ran out the door, wanting to call out to Gooden, but he was nowhere to be seen. "Man, why is this guy so warm-hearted?" Yuan stomped her foot, panicking. But there was nothing she could do. "Yuan, let's hurry up and go over to take a look. Although this young man is a little silly, he is a warm-hearted person. Don't put him in danger because of this." Yuan was a coward, but he was a reasonable person. He didn't want anything to happen to Gooden because of his family. This matter had nothing to do with him, so why should he cause trouble for him? Yuan was also anxious. After listening to her father's words, she didn't care about the business of the burger shop anymore. She hurriedly locked up the shop, stopped a taxi with her father, and rushed to the underground boxing field. But Yuan was a beat too slow when she locked the shop, and how could a taxi be faster than Gooden? There was a speed limit for cars in the city, but there wasn't a speed limit for people. Gooden could even catch up to wild beasts on the mountain, so he was destined to reach the arena first. The address on the card was very detailed, and Gooden found a random person and asked for the direction of the address before flying to the arena. The underground boxing arena was transformed from an abandoned factory, but at the moment, it was brightly lit. At the entrance of the abandoned factory, there were two burly men guarding. They were holding walkie-talkies in their hands. Obviously, they were in charge of guarding. Gooden walked over, but was stopped by two people. "Who are you? What are you here for?" One of the guards looked at Gooden. The fight had already started, and Gooden coming to the arena at this time naturally raised the suspicions of the two men. "Move, I'm looking for someone." Gooden didn't care about these two men at all. These two men might look huge, but that was only enough to scare normal people. In Gooden's eyes, wild boars and bears were nothing to him. "How dare you? I think you're here to cause trouble, aren't you? But open your eyes and look at where you are. You must be tired of living to dare cause trouble here." The man heard Gooden's words and chuckled, looking at Gooden like he was an idiot. But Gooden didn't care about people like this. His goal was clear, and that was to kill that Fighter Li. Gooden casually pulled on the man, and he flew out with a cry, landing on the ground. Gooden didn't wait for him to say anything and went straight into the arena. The arena was brightly lit, and there was a lot of noise. On the arena, two people were fighting, and the crowd was cheering. But this didn't matter to Gooden. He was here to find Fighter Li. But, in such a huge arena, where could he find Fighter Li? Gooden didn't have any ideas, and after some thought, he jumped onto the arena. On the side of the arena, there were some staff and judges, but Gooden's movements were too fast. Before they could react, he was already on the arena. The audience, who were cheering for the fighters who were betting on each other, suddenly saw that there was another person in the ring. They were immediately stunned, and then let out cries of surprise. No one knew where this rustic young man came from. The two boxers who were fighting for their lives were also baffled by this scene. It was supposed to be their battle. Why was there another person? "Where's Fighter Li? Come out and let me kill you with one punch." Gooden's goal was simple. If he killed Fighter Li, naturally, he wouldn't let Yuan be his concubine anymore. Why would a dead man need a concubine? Go find a ghost girl to be his concubine. The two boxers on the stage were a little dumbfounded. Who was this person? Was he a mental patient? The two looked at each other and gave up fighting for now, walking towards Gooden. If they wanted to continue, they had to throw this crazy person off the stage first. Kid, you're here to cause trouble, aren't you? Do you know the consequences of interrupting us? One of the fighters with a red hat yelled coldly. You're Fighterly? Gooden said as he looked at the red hat fighter. Fighterly? What Fighterly? The red hat fighter paused. Since you're not Fighterly, then shut up. I'm here to kill Fighterly. Gooden waved his hand impatiently, gesturing for the red hat fighter to move aside. Chapter 11:15. Ere Gooden punches Fighterly, below, Gooden clapped his hands and turned to the green hat fighter. Are you Fighterly? The green hat fighter couldn't help but frown. He wasn't sure where Gooden came from, but the kid was able to throw someone up in one hit. He must be pretty strong. So the green hat fighter didn't dare walk up. He only shook his head. Kid, you looking for me? Fighterly had already received a message from the two men at the door, saying that someone had forced their way into the arena. It seemed like they were here to cause trouble. As the boxing master of the arena, Fighterly naturally had to come out and see what was going on. And so, he just happened to see Gooden throw the red hat fighter away. You're Fighterly? Gooden raised his head and saw Fighterly on the second floor of the arena. Kid, what are you doing here? If you're here to cause trouble, then you've come to the wrong place. Tell me what you want and I'll let you live. Fighterly smiled coldly, his heart already filled with killing intent. This kid was saying he was going to beat him to death. Fighterly was a petty person, so how could he take it? I'm here to beat you to death. Gooden frowned, impatient. What are you doing up there? Hurry up and come down, I'll beat you to death. Fighterly laughed instead of getting angry. Was this Gooden an idiot? How could he say such retarded words? Telling him to come down and let him beat him to death? What a lame joke. But, Fighterly still asked, I don't even know you, and you want to beat me to death? The audience started laughing as well. Fights were fun, but accidents like this were quite interesting as well, especially when Gooden said he was going to beat Fighterly to death. Are you that Fighterly who wants to steal Yuan? Gooden frowned, but he still wanted to confirm it. It wouldn't be good if he hit the wrong person. Are you here to stand up for Yuan? Very well, how dare you act cocky in front of me, Iron Fistly? You won't be leaving today. Fighterly's eyes flashed with rage. This heir Gooden wasn't Yuan's lover, was he? Otherwise, what did this have to do with him? With that thought, killing intent rose in Fighterly's heart. He was prepared to make Gooden stay. You're right, I'm here to stand up for Yuan. Your grandpa dog egg, I punched a road roller and kicked an atomic bomb. It's fine if I call myself Iron Fist Dog Egg, but you, a filthy, shit-like person, still call yourself Iron Fistly. Gooden spat out some phlegm in disdain, and the phlegm flew all the way to the second floor, landing on Fighterly's head. Why, I'll kill you. Fighterly wiped his forehead and jumped down from the stands, landing firmly on the stage. As a mystic mid-phase physical practitioner, this was a piece of cake. But as soon as he landed on the stage, a hand came at Gooden. He was already furious and wanted to kill Gooden with his fist. Gooden didn't dodge at all, raising his fist to meet Fighterly's fist head-on. Gotcha! Bang! A crisp sound, a muffled sound. Fighterly's body flew out of the ring. One of his arms was bent at an abnormal angle. Obviously, the gotcha sound was the sound of his arm breaking off. In the air, there was a streak of blood. It was spat out by Fighterly. He spat out blood as he flew through the air. With a ping sound, he landed heavily on the ground. Red and white blood flowed all over the ground. Then there was no more movement. Obviously, he would not survive. Ah! There was an exclamation of surprise from the audience. In this underground arena, it wasn't rare to kill someone, but to send someone flying and spit out blood was unheard of. This was something that could only be seen in movies. And so, the audience cheered again. Of course, they didn't know who Fighterly was, and they didn't know that he was the one who killed the Red Dragon. They thought that he was just a low-level fighter. Gooden saw that Fighter Lee was dead, and he didn't stay any longer. It was common for people to die in this arena, but he was afraid that the people here would call the cops. Before they could react, he jumped off the stage and ran out of the arena like a puff of smoke, leaving the place. But just as they stepped out of the arena, a taxi stopped not too far away. The people who got out of the taxi were Yu Ren and Yu Yuan, father and daughter. The two got off the car and saw Gooden running out. They quickly went up to him, but Yuan spoke first. "How are you? Did you see Fighter Lee?" "Run, I killed him already," Gooden said in a low voice. "You killed him?" Yuan's eyes were wide as she looked at Gooden in disbelief. Gooden nodded. "Taxi." Yuan suddenly remembered that the taxi was already paid, and they didn't have to wait. She turned around, and the taxi was already far away. Gooden scratched his head and reached out with both hands, picking up Yuan and Yu Ren as he ran. Yuan jumped in fright. She didn't think that Gooden could run this fast with two people in his arms. Was he even human? Yu Ren was dumbfounded as well. He didn't think that a human could run this fast. Gooden ran for more than a kilometer before stopping. Yuan and Yu Ren's weight was nothing to him. He was carrying a few hundred kilograms of wild boar on his back, but he was still able to run like he was flying. "How did you run so fast? Are you even human?" Yuan was put on the ground, scared out of her wits. She clutched her chest and pointed at Gooden, her face full of shock. "I'm used to running in the mountains," Gooden said. "All right, I killed that bastard, and he won't bother you anymore." "You really killed him? Aren't you afraid of getting sued?" Yuan didn't think that Gooden would really kill him. She didn't really believe it at first, but after seeing Gooden's speed, she started to believe it. This guy wasn't simple. "Didn't you say that people dying in the arena was a common thing? They can call the police?" Gooden jumped. "Will the police come to arrest me?" Chapter 11:16. Yu Ren's thoughts with that thought, Yuan said, "Fighter Lee gave me some money, come to my house later and run with it. The police might not be looking for you, but I'm afraid the people in the arena won't let you go." "You think I'm scared of those filthy bastards? If they dare come, I'll beat them up." Gooden didn't really care about the people in the arena. "Plus, what would you guys do if I left? If they came for you, wouldn't I be doing something bad?" Yuan didn't really care about the arena's revenge. It was just death. What could be worse than death? But who would want to die if they could? Seeing how Gooden didn't seem to care, Yuan wanted him to stay, but she didn't want to cause trouble for him. "Hey, what's with this and that? I don't have a place to stay anyways, so I'll just stay at your house for a few days." Gooden was telling the truth. He had no money, and he even lost boss Lin Yi's address. Where would he go? "Kid, did you really kill Fighter Lee?" Yu Ren pondered for a long time before finally asking. "That Fighter Lee was a piece of shit. I killed him with one punch." Gooden nodded. "Then what do you want to do in the future? What do you want to do in Songshan?" Yu Ren felt that Gooden wasn't a bad person, and his mind started working. If he could make Gooden work in his shop, that would be a good thing. His body was strong, and he'd be a good worker. Yu Ren's metal shop also sold building materials, but because Yu Ren couldn't deliver things to people's doorsteps, business wasn't that good. Now that Gooden was so strong, he'd probably be able to carry a toilet bowl or something, and so Yu Ren wanted him to stay. Especially with Gooden here, he'd be able to protect his house from the arena's harassment, so why not? "Uncle, to tell you the truth, I came here to find my boss, but he put the address and the money in the handkerchief, and I can't contact him now. I don't know what I should do," Gooden said dejectedly as he thought about the stupid thing he'd done. Boss Lin Yi was still waiting for the potion, but in the end he lost the address as soon as he arrived in Songshan. "Oh, how about this? Why don't you stay at my shop and stay at my house for a while? You can look for your boss after you've settled down?" Yu Ren said after some thought. "All right, uncle, don't worry, I won't freeload. I have strength, I can work." Gooden nodded happily. "All right, it's settled then. What's your name? What's your boss's name?" Yu Ren nodded satisfied. This was great, he even saved his wages. "I'm Zhou Jiaming, my boss is Lin." Gooden said. "I don't know him." Yu Ren shook his head. Songshan was huge, and it wasn't the same as a village. A lot of people didn't interact with each other for a lifetime, then you can come to my house and settle down first? That's great. Gooden nodded. Yuan didn't object. In fact, when her father suggested letting Gooden stay, she was a little happy. She didn't really like Gooden, but since ancient times, beauties loved heroes, and Gooden was kind, honest, and had a sense of justice. He was the perfect prince in Yuan's heart, so she didn't reject him. And so, Gooden officially moved into Yuan's house. Yuan's mother had been frowning these 2 days. She knew what happened to Yuren and Yuan. She hated Yuren for going to the arena, but there was nothing she could do now. She could only accept her fate. House Yu's security door had been repaired, and they bought the cheapest door they could, which was replaced after the new house was renovated. Even so, it still cost 300 kwai, making Yuan's mother's heart ache. Yuren's mother knew that Yuan didn't have much time left at home. Fighter Li would be taking her away soon, so she quit her job as a nanny and prepared to stay with Yuan for a few more days. She made dinner and waited for Yuan and Yuren to come home. However, no matter how long she waited, they didn't come back. It was already an hour later than the usual time to get off work. Mrs. Yu couldn't help but call Yuan. Mom, what's up? Yuan's voice was a lot more relaxed, a change from the gloominess these days. Although this matter might not end with Fighter Li's death, it was most likely resolved. Yuan was very happy. This feeling of freedom was great. Yuan, where are you? Why aren't you home yet? Hearing her daughter's voice, Mrs. Yu let out a breath of relief. She thought that Yuan was taken away by Fighter Li today, but it didn't seem to be the case. Mom, Dad and I are going home. There's a guest today. I'll tell you some good news when we get home. Yuan looked at Gooden and said, Oh, good news? Mrs. Yu paused. Looking at the situation in House Yu, there wasn't much good news. Could it be that Fighter Li's situation had turned for the better? Thinking about that, Mrs. Yu quickly asked, Yuan, did Fighter Li's situation turn for the better? We're on the bus now. It's not convenient to talk about it in public. I'll tell you when we get home. Yuan wasn't stupid. Although it wasn't a big deal for someone to die in the arena, she couldn't just talk about it outside, in case it caused trouble for Gooden. The arena, on the other hand, was in a mess. Scorpion didn't think that the arrogant Fighter Li would be killed by a young man called Grandpa Gooden. This was too weird, wasn't it? Scorpion quickly told the workers to take Fighter Li's body away, letting the two fighters continue the fight, in case it affected the audience's bets. After arranging everything, Scorpion quickly ran to the arena's office. Zheng Wen, too, knew what happened outside the arena from the surveillance cameras. Fighter Li's death was out of his expectations. He didn't think that Fighter Li would be killed with one punch. Wasn't he a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner? How did he die just like that? Master Wen, it's bad, Fighter Li was killed. Scorpion stumbled into Zheng Wen's office and reported. Chapter 1117. He had it coming. Zheng Wen was a smart man. He saw Gooden beat up someone and leave the arena, but he didn't send anyone to stop him. He knew that if Fighter Li, a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner, couldn't handle him, who else in the arena could? Trying to stop him was clearly courting death. Master Wen, what do we do now? Scorpion was panicking. Fighter Li's dead, there's no one left. It's not a big deal, but how do we explain this to the firewolves? As long as the firewolves don't object, they'll send us a new practitioner soon. Zheng Wen wasn't sad about Fighter Li's death at all. It didn't matter if he died, they didn't have a good relationship. But Fighter Li was a practitioner sent by the firewolves. It wouldn't be easy to explain this to the higher-ups. Master Wen, this is easy to explain. Little Scorpion thought about it and agreed. The Firewolf gang wanted to continue making money in the arena, so they would definitely send another master. The main problem now was how to deal with Fighter Li's death, but Little Scorpion had an idea for this. Tell me, Zheng Wen said quickly. Young Master Wen, let's just tell the truth to the higher-ups. It's all Fighter Li's fault. He fell in love with a girl from a good family, but he didn't expect the girl's lover to be so powerful. He came to the door and killed him with one punch. Scorpion thought for a moment and said, Master Wen, you still have to complain to the higher-ups about this. Say that Fighter Lee didn't listen to you, that he was arrogant and despotic, that's why he kidnapped a girl. If he listened to you and didn't cause trouble, he wouldn't have been beaten to death. Not bad, Scorpion, you have a brain. Zhang Wen nodded. Good, I'll make the call now. Heh, you're flattering me, Master Wen. Scorpion laughed. Isn't it all because you've taught him well? And you can leave first. Zhang Wen waved his hand, signaling Scorpion to leave first. His conversation with his father and the fire wolves couldn't be heard by anyone, not even Scorpion. After Scorpion left, Zhang Wen quickly called his father and Mingyue. Zhang Wen, why are you calling me at this hour? And Mingyue was having dinner with the vice leader of the Northern Division when Zhang Wen's call came in. Dad, Fighter Lee was killed. Zhang Wen said. What? Fighter Lee was killed? What's going on? How did this happen? And Mingyue was stunned and frowned. Today, the vice leader of the northern branch of the Fire Wolves was treating him to a meal on behalf of the leader. The meaning of this meal was actually to acknowledge Zhang Wen's recent achievements. The underground arena had only been established for such a short period of time, and they'd already earned a few billion. It was a gold mine. Zhang Wen's speed of earning money was the fastest in the history of the Fire Wolves, and the leader of the Northern Division planned to reward and promote Zhang Wen. And Mingyue was very happy, but he didn't expect something to happen at this critical moment. On the other side, the deputy leader of the Fire Wolf Gang's Northern Division heard Mingyue's words, and his expression immediately changed. He asked with a gloomy face, Mingyue, what's going on? How did Fighter Lee die? I haven't asked clearly yet, let me ask him first. And Mingyue's forehead was covered in a layer of cold sweat. The Fire Wolves were strong, but a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner wasn't someone to be underestimated. They couldn't just let him die like that, and so Mingyue decided to find out the cause of the incident first and see if there was anything he could do. Give me the phone, I'll talk to Zhang Wen myself and ask him what happened. The vice leader waved his hand and took the phone from Mingyue's hand. One had to know that a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner was very important to the Northern Division of the Fire Wolves gang. They couldn't just let him die like that. There was no explanation. All right. And Mingyue didn't have a choice. He had to listen to the vice leader. He was worried that Zhang Wen would be punished, but he couldn't go against the vice leader's wishes. He regretted coming here today. He should have told his son beforehand, and maybe there would have been a way out. Zhang Wen? What's going on? Fighter Lee is a master of our Northern Division. How did he get killed when he came to your place? How did such a big incident happen? The vice leader started to question Zhang Wen. Hello, is this the vice leader? Zhang Wen was a little tensered. This was his first time talking directly to a high-level member of the Firewolves, but he maintained his composure and asked respectfully. It's me. Tell me how Fighter Lee died in detail. The vice leader said. Vice leader, I finally found a boss that I can talk to. Zhang Wen acted as if he was full of grievances. Vice leader, that Fighter Lee didn't listen to my commands at all, acting like a tyrant and causing trouble. Look at him now, isn't he? He was beaten to death by someone. You have to help me, it's affecting the arena's business. Oh. The vice leader paused from Zhang Wen's tone. It sounded like Fighter Lee was beaten to death, and he felt wronged? At first, the vice leader thought that Zhang Wen would just admit his wrongdoing. He didn't expect him to complain. He frowned and said unhappily, Zhang Wen, why are you so happy that Fighter Lee was beaten to death? Don't you know that you are responsible for what happened to a Firewolves master in your place? I am responsible? No way. Zhang Wen said, unsatisfied. Vice leader, he was looking for death. What does that have to do with me? He went out to flirt with a decent woman, and in the end, her lover came to find him and punched him to death. How could I stop this? Fortunately, her lover was reasonable and knew that every wrong has a perpetrator, and every debt has a debtor, so he didn't tear down my boxing field. Otherwise, I would have suffered a great loss. Chapter 11:18. Chapter 11:16, Valentine's Day Special. Note: Valentine's Day Special can be considered a theatrical version, not a reference to the main plot. Today was the 14th of February, the traditional Valentine's Day in the West. Heavy snowflakes were falling from the sky, blanketing everything in white. Most of the cities in the world were in the midst of a lively and peaceful atmosphere. Couples walked through the shops on the pedestrian streets, enjoying each other's company. But there was one place that was an exception. This was the border of a small European country, where the temperature was as low as -38 degrees Celsius. There was no hustle and bustle here. The quiet border was covered in snow, and the air was filled with danger. Lin Yi dug out a few mud balls from the fire in front of him and tossed them to the girl beside him. Eat. The mud ball that he had just taken out was still emitting hot air, but it soon cooled down. The girl's dexterous hands pushed the mud ball away. Inside was a roasted sparrow. The outer shell of mud had already stuck all the bird's feathers off, emitting a kind of primitive barbecued meat aroma. It was very mouth-watering. The girl brought the bird meat to his mouth and said happily, "Open your mouth, I'm not hungry." Lin Yi frowned and rejected the girl's good intentions. He stood up and said, "Wait for me here. I'll find some more branches. This fire isn't enough to last through the night." "Don't go, I'm scared." The girl saw Lin Yi was about to leave and quickly stopped him. Lin Yi ignored the girl and walked out of the cave. "Eagle, wait for me. I'll help you too." The girl put down the bird meat and ran out of the cave with Lin Yi. Lin Yi's footsteps hesitated. He looked at the girl and didn't stop her. It was winter, and the ground was covered in snow. Even the branches were covered in snow, and it was hard to find them. But he didn't plan on picking them up either. He found a tree and jumped onto it, starting to break the branches off. The girl watched Lin Yi from the side, but she couldn't help. She stomped her feet and felt sorry for herself. If it weren't for their stubbornness, the two of them wouldn't have left the team. Lin Yi broke some branches. Seeing that it was almost done, he jumped down from the tree and found a soft vine to tie the branches on the ground. "To help you?" The girl looked at Lin Yi busying himself and felt a little apologetic. "No need," Lin Yi said expressionlessly. He quickly tied the branch and carried it on his back. The young girl felt that she was so useless. She wanted to help, but she couldn't help at all. "Eagle, I'm sorry. I really didn't know that what I did would cause trouble." For the past few days, Lin Yi had only been roasting the bird over the fire. He hadn't said a single word to the girl, which made the girl think that Lin Yi was angry. "Oh." Lin Yi responded faintly and walked towards the cave. "Hey, he already apologized to you. Why are you still ignoring him?" The girl was a little anxious. The girl's identity was a representative of a big family in the country. This time, they were here to discuss a collaboration with a local tycoon. It was actually just a training for the young generation of the big family. Originally, this mission wasn't risky at all. Lin Yi was invited by Feng Tianlong to participate in this mission. This mission wasn't an official mission, but because of the powerful family behind the girl, Feng Tianlong naturally invited Lin Yi, an outsider, to be in charge of this mission. But who would have thought that after the discussion, when the group was about to enjoy the scenery at the border, something happened. At the border, they met a few poor children dressed in tattered clothes. They looked like refugees, so the girl asked the people accompanying her to give them some clothes and food. At that time, Lin Yi was against it, but the girl said that he had no sympathy. Lin Yi wanted to say something, but he didn't. He was just a bodyguard, and the others were all direct subordinates of the girl. The specifics were all decided by the girl. These people couldn't wait to flatter the girl, so why would they listen to an outsider like Lin Yi? So, they opened their luggage and flipped through almost everything. They found some food and clothes, afraid that the girl wouldn't be satisfied. Lin Yi frowned, but he didn't say anything. Don't show your wealth, that was the most basic rule. But these people who flattered her were all idiots. The children took the clothes and food and left happily. But not long after, an accident happened. A large number of armed forces rushed over. The children who received the girl's kindness weren't grateful. They called their parents, and the armed forces began a large-scale plunder of the girl's group. Although there were masters in the group, in front of a large number of armed forces, they seemed insignificant. The ultimate goal of the armed forces was to detain the girl's group and rob them of their belongings. Under the attack of the armed forces, many of the people who couldn't resist surrendered, and the masters from the girl's family weren't a match for the guns and cannons. But as for the life and death of these people, Lin Yi didn't care at all. As for the things they brought, Lin Yi didn't have the obligation to protect them. To put it bluntly, Lin Yi was sent by Feng Tianlong just in case. When Lin Yi came, Feng Tianlong made it clear that he was only responsible for the girl's safety. So if something happened to the girl, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to explain himself. As for the others, if they wanted to die, they could die. Lin Yi had always been like this. But these armed forces were obviously only interested in the belongings the girl brought. They didn't want to kill them. After they knocked or injured the people, they didn't do any further harm. Seeing this situation, Lin Yi couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. But he still stood in front of the girl in case of an emergency. "Can you please stop? We can give you all our belongings, but please don't hurt our people." Seeing this situation, the girl blamed herself and was a little nervous. She shouted loudly to stop them. Lin Yi frowned and wanted to stop the girl's actions, but the girl's words had already attracted the attention of the armed forces. "Catch this girl." The armed forces saw the girl. Originally, they didn't notice the girl's existence during the plunder. She was the only female in the group, and in the armed forces where there were very few females, seeing a woman was like a hungry wolf seeing a real thing. The leader saw the girl's appearance and immediately had an idea. Chapter 11:19. Chapter 11:17, Valentine's Day Special 2. The subordinates of the leader of the armed forces surrounded the girl after receiving the order. The girl didn't think that not only did her words not solve the problem, but it also brought trouble to herself. She panicked. What are you doing? I've already given you all my belongings, why won't you let me go?" The girl didn't think that these people would be so heartless. "Girl, our leader has his eyes on you. If you know what's good for you, you'd better give up and come back with us. Otherwise, you'll get it." A muscular man with a submachine gun laughed coldly. "Run!" Lin Yi grabbed the girl's hand and started running without saying a word. With so many armed men, it was impossible for Lin Yi, who was only at the early phase of the golden class, to win. He could only take the girl and run. The girl was also at a loss from Lin Yi's actions. She stumbled from Lin Yi's pole, but Lin Yi didn't care so much. He grabbed the girl by the waist and ran in the opposite direction. Lin Yi didn't care what happened to the people who followed him. As long as he sent the girl back safely, he would be able to answer to Feng Tianlong. "Let go of the girl if you don't want to die." The muscular man with the submachine gun behind Lin Yi didn't think that Lin Yi would run away with the girl. He immediately became angry and warned. Why would Lin Yi care about him? Time was of the essence. The earlier he ran, the less danger he would be in. "Run again and I'll shoot." The muscular man saw that Lin Yi was ignoring him and was even more angry. He raised the submachine gun and aimed at Lin. Lin Yi naturally wanted to run, but behind him came the sound of machine guns firing. Lin Yi didn't look back. He used the warning signal of the jade pendant to dodge the bullets coming from behind. The girl didn't think that the armed men would really shoot, especially with a submachine gun. Previously, they were only using guns as a deterrent. But now, it was obvious that they were serious. "Put me down, I don't want to drag you down." The girl naturally knew who Lin Yi was. She knew that he was only here to help her family protect her. Her life and death actually had nothing to do with him. Among the people who came along, everyone treated the girl like she was a god. Only Lin Yi didn't pay attention to her at all, and occasionally said a few words of opposition. Therefore, the young girl's initial impression of Lin Yi was very bad. She felt that this person was cold and didn't know how to give in to her at all. Was he even a man? But now, her followers were either kneeling on the ground begging for mercy or being knocked unconscious. At the crucial moment, it was still Lin Yi who brought her to escape. The young girl's heart couldn't help but ripple. "Won't I implicate you?" Lin Yi didn't explain anything. Lin Yi was a man of his word. He would do what he promised others. He promised Feng Tianlong that he would protect the girl, so naturally he would keep his promise. "Put me down, they have guns." The young girl was a little anxious. In her mind, under the situation of the submachine gun shooting from behind, the two of them wouldn't be able to survive. It was better to put her down and let her deal with the enemies. Lin Yi didn't have the time to reply to the young girl. He had to concentrate and use the strength of the warning signal from the jade to determine the direction of the bullets behind them. If he wasn't careful, he might get shot. This wasn't just 1 or 2 shots, it was a continuous barrage of bullets. The young girl saw that Lin Yi didn't move and immediately became anxious. She struggled on Lin Yi's body and prepared to get down. "Don't move." Lin Yi frowned. The young girl's soft body in Lin Yi's arms emitted a faint fragrance. It already made Lin Yi's determination waver. After all, Lin Yi was at the age where he was full of vigor. With the young girl's movement, it made Lin Yi's breathing quicken and his heart flutter. Fortunately, Lin Yi's self-control was stronger. He didn't have any dirty thoughts towards the young girl. However, the young girl's movement was already making Lin Yi unable to bear it. "Put me down," the young girl said without hesitation. "Don't move if you don't want to die." Lin Yi said coldly. "I won't move if you put me down." The young girl said. Bang! While Lin Yi was distracted, there was a muffled sound. Lin Yi's calf was shot. Although this degree of injury was nothing to Lin Yi, the pain still made Lin Yi frown. At this moment, Lin Yi's strength was only equivalent to the early phase of the golden class. Looking at the young girl who was still moving around in his arms, Lin Yi suddenly became angry. He reached out and hit her, but, of course, Lin Yi only wanted to teach her a lesson. He didn't want to hurt the young girl. Otherwise, with Lin Yi's strength, the young girl would probably be beaten to death if he continued hitting her. "A dash," the young girl screamed. She never thought that Lin Yi would dare to hit her. Moreover, it was her butt. The young girl felt wronged. She was the little princess of her family. When had she ever been treated like this? Moreover, her butt was being spanked by a man. The young girl was embarrassed and angry. She scolded Lin Yi, "Let go of me. If you don't, I will go back and sue you for being a pervert. Your mouth is on your body. Do what you want," Lin Yi said indifferently. Lin Yi didn't belong to Feng Tianlong's side. He wasn't under Feng Tianlong's control. Therefore, no matter how the young girl complained, Lin Yi didn't care. The young girl saw that she couldn't scare Lin Yi. She could only give up. She pouted and unhappily let Lin Yi carry her as he ran. Although Lin Yi's running speed wasn't as fast as a bullet, he was much faster than the big man chasing behind. In a short while, Lin Yi had already left the big man far behind. However, Lin Yi didn't slow down. Although the big man was chasing on foot, the armed men had cars. Lin Yi was afraid that they would ask people to drive after him. On the snow, running could leave footprints. No matter how far Lin Yi ran, they would be able to find him. After running for a while, Lin Yi stopped. Can you put me down now?" The young girl saw that Lin Yi stopped, so she asked. Lin Yi didn't answer. He still hugged the young girl tightly. He jumped up and flew onto a tree. Lin Yi didn't plan to walk on the snow. He was prepared to jump between the trees. Only by doing this could he cover his tracks and avoid being tracked by the armed men. The reason why Lin Yi chose to jump up the tree was because there was a cliff in front of him. In this way, Lin Yi created the illusion of jumping off the cliff to mislead the armed men. The young girl didn't think that Lin Yi would jump up the tree with her. She was shocked. What are you doing?"